Part 17. Martial Arts, Become Invincible starting from the full-level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at Westlake. Chapter 161. You and I are neither relatives nor friends, so I don't owe you anything. On the contrary, you still owe me 3 lives. You can't afford to pay back the 3 lives you owe now. If I still help you, how do you want to pay it back? Gong soon. Ao said coldly, I know that I will never be able to repay the 3 lives I owe you in this lifetime, so I will simply sell them cleanly and give my life to you. After saying that, Gong soon Ao stood up, knelt down in front of Xiao Wuji, and said in a deep voice, from today on, I, Gong soon Ao, recognize you as my master, and I will be your follower and servant, and I will be at your mercy. If you give me an order, I will never disobey you, and I will be smashed to pieces without hesitation. Xiao Wuji narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at Gong soon Ao, who was kneeling in front of him quietly without saying a word. The room suddenly became quiet, and you could hear a needle drop. To be honest, Xiao Wuji didn't expect Gong soon Ao to do such a trick. This is Gong soon Ao, the peak master who is ranked 7th on the Earth ranking. The Earth ranking has been re-ranked. Shui Hong Ai is dead, and Gong soon Ao is already ranked 7th. Such a master can only be encountered but cannot be sought. And with Gong soon Ao's qualifications and potential, it is very likely that he will be able to break through to the Grand Master realm in the future. By then, Xiao Wuji will have a Grand Master's subordinate. To be honest, Xiao Wuji is excited. It just so happens that he is here during this time looking for guards for the family. They have recruited many innate masters, but they lack a leader. Xiao Wuji was worried that he could not find a master, but he never expected that Gong soon Ao would come to his door. Have you thought it through? Xiao Wuji asked again. I think clearly. Gong soon Ao raised his head, looked directly at Xiao Wuji, and said firmly, as long as I can avenge brother Bai, I will pay no matter what the price. Anyway, I, Gong soon Ao, am alone and will die. As long as I can take revenge on the demon cult, even death is worth it. Xiao Wuji saw that Gong soon Ao had made up his mind, and naturally he would not refuse the powerful master who came to his door for free. He nodded and said, in that case, from now on, you will be the chief steward of my house. Normally, you are responsible for protecting the safety of my family. If there are any traces of the demon cult, I will notify you and ask you to act together. I'm going to say something ugly first. If you want to leave one day, you can discuss it with me. If you leave without saying a word, that would be betrayal. I will never show mercy to traitors. Gong soon Ao said in a deep voice, now that I'm here, I don't want to leave. Okay, remember what you said tonight. Xiao Wuji nodded with satisfaction. Gong soon Ao was a man who kept his word and never went back on his promises. With him as the housekeeper to protect the Su mansion, Xiao Wuji finally felt at ease. Time passed, and 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. The past 7 days, during that time, Xiao Wuji was either at the banquet or on the way to the banquet. The officials who were rescued by Xiao Wuji all held a banquet and invited Xiao Wuji to come. Firstly, it was to thank him for saving his life, and secondly, he heard that Xiao Wuji congratulations to Wuji for being knighted. His father-in-law, Su Yu, even held a running banquet for 7 days and 7 nights. The commotion was so loud that most of Jinling City knew about it. This morning, Xiao Wuji came to Fuzi, North Town, eating big meat buns. When the time comes, all the royal guards along the way salute and say hello. Hello Xiaoqianhu. See Xiaoqianhu. Xiaoqianhu becomes handsome again, so handsome. It would be great if I could marry Xiaoqianhu. There were several female officials in the corner secretly looking at Xiao Wuji, their cheeks were red with embarrassment, and their eyes were full of spring. You'd better not think about it, Mr. Xiao already has a fiancée, and the wedding is approaching, and he will get married soon. A Jinyai Behu next to him looked at the female official and said, instead of thinking about something that is not available, it is better to consider me. I, Lao Wang, haven't gotten married yet. You'd better get out of here. The female officer rolled her eyes at Wang Behu and said with some disgust, if I want to marry, I want to marry a hero like Xiaoqianhu. How could I marry an ugly guy like you? If I could marry Xiaoqianhu, I would even be a concubine. After saying that, the female officer looked at Xiao Wuji's leaving back with a rippling face, and her legs were involuntarily clamped together. Wang Behu next to him was about to cry without tears. Someone comforted him and said, don't be sad, old Wang, why are you a real man? You have no wife, how can Xiaoqianhu be compared to us? I'll take you to Piaoxianjiayuan tonight. What kind of food can't be found there? What you said makes sense, why should a man worry about not having a wife? Wang Behu cheered up again, nodded and said, I will fight 10 tonight. The colleague next to him widened his eyes, hit 10, can you bear it? Wang Behu held his head high and said with a look of disdain, what are just 10, when I was at my peak, I could fight 20. Men, never say you can't do it. 20? Are you bragging? Fart, I never brag. A few hundred households were talking as they walked, gradually drifting away. A few female officials sighed and cursed in a low voice, a bunch of stinky men. Xiao Wuji naturally didn't know that he was being targeted by the female officer of Beijianfu. He had already arrived at the Qinhu office. As soon as he entered the Qinhu office, Shuehua and Song Liman came up to him, their faces glowing red. I will see you, sir. Free of charge. Xiao Wuji looked at the two of them and asked with a smile, did you two find the money, so happy? Shuehua and Song Liman looked at each other and said in unison, sir, we have broken through the innate. After saying that, the two of them shook their bodies and burst out with a burst of innate true energy. That's it? Xiao Wuji rolled his eyes. What's so exciting about breaking through the innate world? Aren't you still a weakling? Shuehua and Song Liman said helplessly, sir, not everyone is as evil as you. We are very satisfied that we can break through the innateness in this life. Okay, just be happy. Xiao Wuji waved his hand and turned around to look for Yuan Xiong at the Qinhu office. When he arrived at the middle hall of the Qinhu office, Yuan Xiong was already waiting here. I saw Yuan Xiong sitting in the main hall, sitting on the seat, he was drinking a cup of tea in his hand. The aroma of tea spread and filled the room. The tea Yuan Xiong drank was a tribute given by the emperor, and the price was much more expensive than the Sushan Yunding that Xiao Wuji often drank. Third brother, here I come. Xiao Wuji stepped forward to say hello. Let's see. Yuan Xiong saw Xiao Wuji arriving, and without saying a word, he picked up a file on the table and threw it to Xiao Wuji. Xiao Wuji took the file and opened it. It recorded information about the Evil Blood Sect. Evil Blood Sect? Has His Majesty decided to eradicate the Evil Blood Sect? As soon as Xiao Wuji saw the dossier, he had already guessed the mission. That's right. Yuan Xiong put down his teacup and said, Shui Wuxian, the leader of the Evil Blood Sect, colluded with the Devil Sect and the Ghost Emperor and entered the palace to assassinate him. His crime was extremely heinous. Although the two of them were killed by Tianbang Master Nangongye, their sects still could not escape the blame. When Xiao Wuji heard the name Nangongye, his expression remained unchanged and calm. Yuan Xiong couldn't even imagine that the master on the heavenly ranking he mentioned was standing in front of him at this moment. Yuan Xiong continued, the demon cult, we don't know where the lair is, but the Evil Blood Sect can't escape. Go take a trip. With the current remaining power of the Evil Blood Sect, you should be able to deal with it alone. If you need help, you can also tell us, and you can choose from thousands of households in Fuzi, Bijan. Xiao Wuji put away the file and said calmly, it's enough for me to lead the team by myself. I don't need help. I'll take people out now. Well, I can rest assured that I will leave the matter to you. I will be back as soon as possible. Clear. At the same time, the system also released new tasks in a timely manner. Ding, the host triggers a mission to eradicate the evil blood section. It is detected that the evil blood sect has a blood feud with the host. Please ask the host to exterminate the evil blood section. Mission requirements: kill at least 90% of the disciples of the evil blood section. All the master level elders must be killed without leaving anyone behind. Mission reward: full level to dominate the world. Dominating the world, coming from the best world in the world, it is another peerless sword technique. Listening to the electronic sound of the system, Xiao Wuji is in a good mood. Shui Wuxian is dead, and so is Shui Hong'ai. Now the evil blood sect is only there were only 2 or 3 big cats and kittens left. This task was not difficult for Xiao Wuji at all. Returning to Qinhuzhou, Xiao Wuji immediately summoned his men and rushed out of the city to Hanzhou where the evil blood sect was located. Jin Yiwei: when traveling, idlers should give way. On the official road, Xiao Wuji and his party were riding horses. The horses' hooves were galloping, kicking up rolling yellow sand. When pedestrians saw the Jin Yiwei from a distance, they all stepped aside to make way for Xiao Wuji and others. Sir, the evil blood sect is a big evil sect after all. It's not enough for people like us, right? Song Liman asked respectfully, riding on horseback one position behind Xiao Wuji. 633 Xiao Wuji said expressionlessly. The evil blood sect's master and deputy sect master were all killed. Now there is only a bunch of trash left in the evil blood section, not many experts. Although there are many disciples of the evil blood sect, I can mobilize the Hanzhou camp garrison to encircle and suppress them. As soon as Xiao Wuji said these words, Shui Hua and Song Liman immediately reacted. Yes, how could they forget that their master is not an ordinary Jinyue Qinhu, he is also one of the 13 Taibao. The 13 Taibao owns ordinary Qinhu. The only privilege they don't have is the ability to mobilize the Xiaohu garrison. As long as the number does not exceed 2,000, it is not a violation. With the garrison and Xiao Wuji's strength, it is more than enough to eliminate an evil blood sect. Sure enough, there is meat to eat with the adults. Shui Hua and Song Liman were pleasantly surprised. They knew that this mission was another big mistake. As long as they can complete it, they can be promoted to 100 households with their merits. Now they are already innate masters, and their strength is enough. It's all about merit. When they think of being promoted to 100 households after this mission, Shui Hua and Song Liman's blood boils, their hairs stand on end, and they feel that they have endless strength. Jinling City is some distance away from Hanzhou City. If working hard, day and night, we can arrive in 10 days. But Xiao Wuji is obviously not a person who volunteers to work overtime. Although he walks slowly along the way, he never rushes at night. It took 7 days and he only covered half of the journey. I really miss the days of flying on Blue Star. Xiao Wuji rode on the horse and sighed in his heart. In this ancient world, there is no way to deal with slow transportation. A strong master relies on Qinggong to travel, or a great master of swordsmanship can travel thousands of miles in a day. But no one would spend a lot of real energy for no reason just to travel, unless there is an emergency. The only thing left is the incarnation of heaven and man, a master of the integration of heaven and man, who can travel thousands of miles in an instant. On this day, Xiao Wuji they passed by a small county town. The small county town is called Zhu County. The name is very rustic, but it is very simple. And although Zhu County sounds very old-fashioned, it is actually very prosperous here. Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full-level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at West Lake. Chapter 162. Because Zhu County is located on an important transportation thoroughfare, business roads are prosperous. Merchants will pass here along the way. The streets in Zhu County are wide and can accommodate 4 horses and carriages traveling side by side at the same time. There are many stalls on both sides of the street, selling jewelry, rouge, snacks, fortune tellers, and calligraphy testers. Pedestrians come and go, the flow is endless, and it is very lively. Occasionally there are martial arts performers on the street, performing performances such as breaking rocks with their chests or swallowing swords, attracting crowds of people to watch and cheer. Xiao Wuji rode his horse and walked on the street, looking at the lively scenes around him, and the fragrance of flowers penetrated his nose. "It smells so good, can you smell it?" Shui Hua, who was behind him, shrugged his nose and said, "I smell it, it does have a fragrance, it seems to be the fragrance of flowers." "What kind of flower is this? The scent is so strong." Many Jinyaiwei looked around, but did not see the existence of flowers. There were no flowers, but the fragrance was fragrant, which showed that this flower must be extraordinary. Xiao Wuji said, "This is the fragrance of chrysanthemums." "Chrysanthemum? Are chrysanthemums so fragrant?" Underscore. This kind of chrysanthemum blooms all year round. When the flowers bloom, the fragrance is fragrant. If there are enough, the fragrance can spread for several miles, hence the name Zhu County. While talking, Xiao Wuji and others came to the door of a restaurant. They saw pots of colorful chrysanthemums placed in front of the restaurant. They were the Nalan chrysanthemums that Xiao Wuji mentioned. Nalan chrysanthemums are very special. When they bloom, there is only one color. Sometimes even the petals of a flower have 2 or even 3 colors. The more colors there are, the more precious the pot of Nalan chrysanthemum is. Many literati who love chrysanthemums will spend a lot of money to buy them, so that Zhu County it gave birth to many gardeners who specialized in cultivating chrysanthemums. Many gardeners in Zhu County relied on this craft to make a fortune. Xiao Wuji also heard that a gardener once cultivated a 6-color top-quality Nalan chrysanthemum and dedicated it to Emperor Jingtai. He received a generous reward and became famous all over the world. He was known as the best gardener in the world. Therefore, it is not necessary to practice martial arts to become famous in the world. You can still become a master by practicing a craft to the extreme. At the door of the restaurant, the rich fragrance of flowers fills the air, which is intoxicating. Although the fragrance is strong, it is not greasy. It blends with the aroma of the food and wine in the restaurant, making it even more memorable. This restaurant owner is a good businessman. Xiao Wuji turned over and dismounted, and decided to rest here temporarily. Several waiters in the restaurant were very discerning. When they saw Xiao Wuji and his party dismounting in front of the restaurant, they immediately rushed out to greet them. "Sir, please come in." The waiter took the reins from Xiao Wuji's hand and welcomed Xiao Wuji and his party into the restaurant. The lobby was already full of people, noisy and busy, and the business was very hot. The waiter took Xiao Wuji and others to the second floor. "Order a few tables." After the wine and food were served, Xiao Wuji sat down by the window. Shui Hua stood up and poured wine for Xiao Wuji. When the wine went into the glass, it was crystal clear and the aroma of the wine overflowed. Xiao Wuji took a sip from the glass, narrowed his eyes slightly and smiled. "I didn't expect the wine here to be pretty good." The waiter next to him said with a proud face. "Our restaurant is famous in Zhu County for its wine. The guest just drank Zy Chunfeng, which has been stored for 20 years. Our restaurant is the only one in Zhu County that can provide it." Xiao Wuji nodded and said, "Drunken Spring Breeze is indeed good." He said, greeting Shui Hua and others, "Don't be stunned, you can eat and drink as you like." After receiving Xiao Wuji's approval, many Jinyaiwei began to eat and drink. Although everyone took off their fiyu suits and changed into regular clothes, they still maintained awe of Xiao Wuji. No matter what they do, they must get Xiao Wuji's approval. They will do it only after their orders. While drinking, Xiao Wuji noticed that besides them, there were 7 or 8 tables of guests in the lobby on the second floor. 4 of the tables were occupied by martial artists. The first table was closest to Xiao Wuji, who was also sitting there. There was a young scholar by the window. He ordered 4 side dishes, 3 meat, and 1 vegetable, plus a bottle of wine. He drank alone, shook his folding fan, and occasionally looked out the window, with a relaxed and happy face. Although this man looked like he was a scholar without the power to bind a chicken, but Xiao Wuji could tell that this man was a warrior. Listening to his breathing rhythm, he could tell that his cultivation had already exceeded the innate level. Such a young innate master reminded Xiao Wuji of Ling Chenfeng and Wu-brained little junior sister. Like them, this person must come from a big family or a famous section. Even if he is not, he must have had an adventure. Sitting at the second table is a man and a woman. The man is he is a middle-aged man in his 30s or 40s. His appearance is not ugly, but he has no special features. He is the kind of person who cannot be found in the crowd. The woman looks enchanting and charming, and she looks only 28 years old. Her skin is delicate and colorful, and she is full of charm. Especially those flaming red lips, and her breath is like blue, which is even more eye-catching. The two people sitting together are really very disharmonious. It is hard to imagine that such a beautiful woman can actually will marry such an ordinary man. However, the fact is that this woman is the man's wife. The woman pours wine for the man, carefully brings it to the man's mouth, feeds him to drink, and after drinking, she wipes the corners of the man's mouth with a handkerchief. His eyes were full of deep love. The man kept his hand on the woman's waist, which made the 3 bearded men at the third table feel jealous. Their eyes were full of anger, and they secretly cursed a flower stuck in cow dung. Go up. Such a stunning beauty actually married a mediocre man. It was really a waste of money. As for the fourth table, there was a young swordsman sitting there. He was wearing a carefully tailored white robe, with a handsome face and elegant demeanor. He was also drinking alone, but while he was drinking from a wine glass in his right hand, he kept holding his sword in his left hand. Moreover, Xiao Wuji noticed that this person had no Adam's apple, and there were traces of disguise in the subtle parts of his face. So shallow, of course, Xiao Wuji's disguise skills could not be hidden from Xiao Wuji's eyes. He could tell at a glance that this young swordsman was a woman disguised as a man. Xiao Wuji often heard that there are female heroes in the world who often dress up as men when walking around the world to avoid being embarrassed. Necessary trouble. But Xiao Wuji has been in this world for almost 3 years, and today is the first time he saw a female swordsman disguised as a man. Moreover, Xiao Wuji noticed that although the young scholar at the first table would look out the window from time to time, but the corner of his eye kept glancing at the young knight in white. On the other hand, the young knight in white disguised as a man never glanced at the young scholar from beginning to end, as if he was dismissive of him. My lord, that couple seems to be the twin evil spirits of King Han and Han. At this time, Song Liman came over and whispered in Xiao Wuji's ear. King Han Chuangsha? What's the origin? Xiao Wuji frowned slightly. He had never heard of the names of King Han Chuangsha. Song Liman explained in a low voice. King Han Chuangsha is a pair of powerful thieves. Is also a killer, specializing in the business of killing and selling goods. The couple were inseparable and killed many people. Because the two of them often move around Qingzhou and Hanzhou, they are called King Han Chuangsha by the people in the world. This couple both have innate cultivation skills, and both of them are on Jin Yui's wanted list. I see. Xiao Wuji understood that the so-called King Han Chuangsha were just 2 innate level thieves. No wonder he hadn't heard of it. The people Xiao Wuji paid attention to were at least masters at the master level, and he always looked down upon the innate ants. Sir, do you want to take action? Song Liman's hand has already been placed on the hilt of the knife. The same is true for Shui Hua next to him. Although he did not recognize the King Han Chuangsha at the first time, he believes that Song Liman will not admit his mistake. If he can catch the King Han Chuangsha, he will be right. It was a great achievement for them. It happened that they had never fought before after breaking through the innate world, so today was a rare opportunity. Anyway, with Xiao Wuji in charge, even if they couldn't defeat them, they wouldn't be in danger of their lives. Wait first. Xiao Wuji stopped the two of them, glanced at the King Han Chuangsha, the three bearded men and the young man in white, and said with interest, the show is about to start, we will arrest them after the show is over. Not too late. Good show. Xuehua and Song Liman were puzzled. However, neither of them would disobey Xiao Wuji's order, so they had to sit in their original positions and did not dare to act rashly. At this moment, among the three bearded men at the third table, sitting on the right, the big man on the side said something. I want to feel good. One of his eyes is blind, and the remaining one eye is staring at the charming woman in King Han's double evil, with a fierce light in his eyes, full of lust and greed. As soon as these words came out, the lobby on the second floor fell silent instantly. When you come down, you can hear the needle drop. The King Han Chuangsha was stunned for a moment when he heard the words. The male Sha's face instantly darkened. As for the woman, she turned towards the one-eyed man. Smile charmingly. Not only is he not afraid, but he is provocative, as if he is saying, if you have the ability, just do it. The other tables of ordinary merchants saw that the situation was not going well, looked panicked, and already had the idea of escape. They have been in business for many years, and although they have not practiced martial arts, they can be considered half martial arts people. I know that martial arts warriors often fight among themselves, killing people, and often affecting Chi Yu. If you don't avoid this situation in time, you may lose your life. I want, to. Among the three big men, the big man sitting on the left, Wang Nyazeo, also said coldly. It's just that his eyes are not as fiery as the big man on the right. His eyes are as cold as his voice. This man has a face. Stall, almost no other expressions. I'll go first. The big man sitting in the middle spoke. There was a scar on his face, which ran from his forehead to the left side of his face. It looked like a centipede lying on his face. It was extremely ferocious and terrifying. And this big man with a scarred face didn't just talk about it, he spoke directly. He stood up. Upon seeing this, the merchants in the lobby on the second floor all changed their expressions and fled in all directions, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Although they had never practiced Qinggong, their ability to escape had been developed over many years. So far, only Xiao Wuji and his group and 4 tables of Jianghu warriors were left in the lobby on the second floor. The King Han Chuangsha looked at the 3 bearded men at the third table, and the male shaman spoke with a cold voice. Some words should not be said carelessly, you must know that the disaster will come from welcome. If you lose your life because of this, it will be too late to regret. Oh, sir, I would like to know, what does it mean that trouble comes from the mouth? The scar-faced man in the middle smiled ferociously, and slapped the table with his right hand. The horizontal knife on the table jumped up immediately. The scar-faced man slapped the handle of the horizontal knife with his palm, and the scabbard flew out with a swish. The big man with the scarred face shot towards the man like a sharp arrow. The big man with the scarred face grabbed the hilt of the knife and flew up, slashing down from above. In an instant, the big man with the scarred face made 2 moves. The 2 moves went hand in hand, striking the man directly. The 2 key points are the heart and the center of the eyebrows. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at Westlake. Chapter 163. The man reacted quickly. He raised his foot and kicked the table. The table immediately stood up, blocking the flying scabbard like a shield. With a pop, although the scabbard penetrated the table, it got stuck in the middle of the table. At this moment, the scarred man's knife had already struck down. There was a clang, and the table was split in half. The man hugged the woman and quickly backed away, several feet away, avoiding this killing move. "You are seeking death." The man became angry. He let go of his hand around the woman's waist, took a step forward, shot out several flying knives with both hands. The flying knives shot straight to the vital parts of the scar-faced man's body. Haha, even a juggler who plays with throwing knives dares to show off his skills to embarrassment. When the scar-faced man saw the man killing him with a flying knife, he immediately smiled contemptuously. It's not that the scar-faced man looked down on male evil spirits, but it was that there were really few warriors in the world who were famous for their flying knives. Flying knives are short and are generally used for assassinations. Or it is used by weak women for self-defense. It is not as good as a sword when facing an enemy head-on. If it is used as a hidden weapon, the flying knife is too big, the target is too obvious, and the speed is not fast enough to have an unexpected effect. In short, flying knives everything is a shortcoming. Except 40 years ago, there was a master who was famous for his flying knives and ranked on the earth rankings. Since then, no flying knife warrior has become famous. The scar-faced man swung his knife and hit all the flying knives. Flying, he stamped his feet at the same time, swooping up like a tiger and fighting with the man. At this time, the two brothers of the scar-faced man had already surrounded the charming woman. "Little beauty, instead of wasting your youth with that kind of useless man, why not follow us? The three of us brothers will definitely make you enjoy all the glory and wealth, and also allow you to enjoy the ultimate happiness in the world," the one-eyed man at the beginning said with an evil smile. "My third brother is right, that kind of useless man is not worthy of you at all." The cold-faced man also spoke. The woman took 2 steps back, but there was no panic on her face. She chuckled and said, 073 "So, you are worthy of me?" The cold-faced man said of course. The woman covered her mouth and smiled, and said with interest, "But you have 3 brothers, who should I follow? You can't let me, a little girl, be with the 3 of you at the same time, right?" "Why not?" The one-eyed man grinned and said, "We 3 brothers are brothers, we share blessings and hardships, and we can share everything together." Fart, absolutely disgusting. Before the woman spoke, a cold shout suddenly came. The 2 big men looked back and saw the young man in white at the 4th table stood up and cursed at the 3 big men, "The bright sun, the bright world, you guys. Don't you feel ashamed that 3 beasts are robbing someone else's wife? The mouthful of excrement and foul language is simply disgusting. How can there be scum like you in this world? Pooh. Pretty boy, from which corner did you emerge?" The one-eyed man spat and cursed coldly at the young hero in white with a stern look. The cold-faced man pulled out the long knife from his waist and said in a cold voice, "What I hate the most is sissy white-faced guys like you. Get away from me. If you make me angry, I will kill you too." As soon as these words came out, the young knight in white became so angry that his face turned red, and Xiao Wuji also felt that he was offended. Pretty face, these words seemed to be a metaphor for him. In terms of appearance, Xiao Wuji is much more handsome than the young knight in white. Moreover, Xiao Wuji had noticed before that among the 3 bearded men, the cold-faced man looked at him several times. Xiao Wuji thought that he was wary of himself before. After all, when traveling in the world, one must be on guard against others. It is natural to be wary. But now it seems that Xiao Wuji is too handsome, fetch, which arouses the jealousy of some people. Damn, is it my fault that I am handsome? I am born with this, right? At this moment, the young hero in white shouted angrily, drew his sword out of its scabbard and charged at the 2 big men. For a moment, the 3 of them fought together, and the young hero in white was 1 against 2, but he did not lose at all. Retreat. Sir, do we want to take action? Song Liman tilted his head and asked again. King Han Chuangsha encountered a strong enemy at this moment, and they were already thinking about the head rather than the tail. If they take action at this time, they will definitely be able to capture these two people. At this moment, Shuehua and Song Liman, his eyes were fiery, and the way he looked at Qing Han and Chuangsha was not as if he was looking at a person, but as he was looking at a great achievement. Xiao Wuji drank a glass of wine, with a slight smile on his lips, and said lightly, "No, the show has just begun. Begin. Watch carefully and don't be deceived by appearances." Appearance. Shuehua, Song Liman, and others were stunned, not understanding what Xiao Wuji said. But since Xiao Wuji said there was no need to take action, they would not act rashly. All the Jin Yiwei sat quietly watching the show. The young scholars at the first table, he was also watching a group of people fighting, with deep eyes. The three big men, King Han Chuangsha and the young man in white, were all innate masters. In a small restaurant, 6 innate masters appeared at the same time. What do you think? They all find it a bit unbelievable. If you include young scholars, you know, innate masters are not just common cabbage. It is very suspicious that so many innate masters appear in a small restaurant and fight over a disagreement. Pretty boy, you have to pay the price for meddling in your own business. I'm going to let you, a sissy, know how powerful you are today, and don't show off in the next life. The one-eyed man slashed forward with his sword. The black blade covered the Xiantian Yuan. It was sharp and swift and struck straight at the neck of the young hero in white. At the same time, the cold-faced man flew around to the left and slashed at the young hero in white's lower back. The two men attacked from front to back, and the young man in white was suddenly in danger. However, the young man in white was very good at lightness, and he jumped out with a swish. With a flash of sword light, he had already split the one-eyed man's horizontal sword, and not only avoided the cold man's the sneak attack, also left a sword mark on the chest of the one-eyed man. The sword was extremely sharp and directly tore the flesh and blood, causing the one-eyed man to scream and blood dripped from his chest. The young hero in white turned over and landed on the ground, with a distinguished temperament, and said coldly, "Despicable and shameless villains like you will be punished by everyone. If you meet this young hero today, it will be your end. The young hero is so awesome." The rescued female evil spirit clapped her hands and cheered, and ran behind the young hero in white. The young hero in white said with a proud look on his face, "We are chivalrous people, and when we see injustice on the road, we naturally draw our swords to help. Madam, please step back and watch how this young hero kills these 3 villains. Be careful of splattering your blood." Bang! Before she finished speaking, the woman suddenly took action and slapped the young hero in white hard on the back of the heart. The palm was caught off guard. The young hero in white didn't have eyes on the back of his head, so he was naturally unprepared. He was destroyed with one palm. The true essence entered the body. The young hero in white threw forward uncontrollably, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. With a bang, the young hero in white smashed a table to pieces, and his face suddenly turned pale. Why? The young hero in white looked at the woman with dull eyes, a look of disbelief on his face. She didn't expect that she saved the woman with good intentions, but the woman repaid her kindness and attacked her secretly. He, you are so innocent, Miss Jean. The woman covered her mouth and chuckled, her eyes full of ridicule. The cold-faced man who had attacked the woman before and the one-eyed man stood beside the woman on the left and right, both of them also had sarcastic looks on their faces. At this moment, how could they not look as lustful as they had previously coveted the woman? Not only in this way, the male evil spirit and the scar-faced man who had been fighting had stopped, and the two came over to join the 3. Obviously, these 5 people were in a group, and all the previous behaviors were just acting. As the saying goes, betrayals will always come from your back. This sentence is indeed true. The cold knives coming from the back are the most deadly. You have been here for me from the beginning. The young man in white looked at these 5 people, his face turned pale with anger, and he gritted his teeth. Haha, I realize it now, it's too late. The man in the King Han Chuangsha looked at the young man in white and said, Miss Qin, stop struggling and come with us. We know your true identity. Don't worry, as long as you don't act rashly, we won't hurt you. The woman sneered and said, Of course, if you resist wholeheartedly, we won't kill you, we will just break your tendons and hamstrings and scratch your face. Anyway, as long as you don't die, you are our most useful bargaining chip. You are here for my father. The young man in white seemed to have thought of something. He held his sword and shouted coldly, Stop dreaming, I won't follow you. If my father knew what happened today, none of you would be able to escape. The scar-faced man said coldly, Of course we can't afford to offend Qin Haishan, but now you are the only one, and it is impossible to escape from our grasp. The male evil spirit among the 2 evil spirits of Qing Han said in a cold voice, Okay, stop talking nonsense, catch the person first, otherwise things will change. As soon as the words fell, the male evil spirit flew up and grabbed the young hero in white. Not to be outdone, the young hero in white swung his sword to meet the enemy. The sword light was misty and the sword shadow was heavy, and he forced the man back with one strike. Although he was injured, but her strength is still not weak. After a few moves, the male evil spirit is unable to do anything to the young hero in white. She is worthy of being Qin Haishan's daughter, and her strength is indeed impressive. Let's all join in. The scar-faced man shouted angrily, and the 5 people immediately swarmed forward. Facing the siege of the 5 people, the injured young man in white finally couldn't hold on anymore and was beaten back again and again. Xiao Wuji on the side narrowed his eyes slightly, and he accurately noticed a name, Qin Haishan. If he remembered correctly, the Hanzhou battalion general was also called Qin Haishan, and he was also the first person Xiao Wuji was looking for when he went to Hanzhou this time. If he wanted to eliminate the evil blood sect, the people he brought were obviously not enough, you must go to Hanzhou camp to mobilize troops. And if you want to mobilize troops from Hanzhou camp, you must pass through Qinhai Mountain. Is there really such a coincidence in this world? Even Xiao Wuji, at this moment, he had to lament that we have never met each other in life. Qin Haishan didn't see him, but he met Qin Haishan's daughter first. Sir, we can take action now. At this moment, Song Liman asked for an attack for the 3rd time. Shuehua on the side couldn't bear it anymore, his eyes were indignant. It was just a sneak attack, and now he is bullying the minority with more. As Jin Yiwei, they can't just watch this. Something evil happened in front of their eyes. They didn't know who Qin Haishan was, but after listening to the conversation just now, they knew that the young hero in white in front of them was a woman disguised as a man. If they go to save people now, they might be able to become heroes. To save the beauty. Shuehua and Song Liman were eager and ready to act, but Xiao Wuji stopped them again and said, Don't worry, the show is not over yet. Look, didn't the hero save the beauty? Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full-level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at West Lake. Chapter 164. Look, didn't the hero save the beauty? Before they finished speaking, Shuehua and Song Liman heard a gust of wind. They saw a figure flying past, and instantly appeared in front of the young hero in white. A folding fan waved by, and a large amount of Xiantianyuan poured out. Came out and immediately forced King Han Chuangsha and 3 bearded men back. Wuo, I'm here to save you. The figure turned over and landed on the ground, holding a folding fan. It was the young scholar who had been drinking by the window before. The young scholar tried to hold the woman's hand, but was avoided by the woman. The young knight in white, that is, Qin Wuo looking at the young scholar, he said coldly, Who wants you to save me? Just these bunch of chickens and dogs can't do anything to me. Even if I am injured now, I can still kill them all. The young scholar smiled bitterly and said, Wuo, don't be so stubborn. The most urgent thing now is to heal your wounds first. If something happens to you, how can I explain it to Uncle Qin? Qin Wuo's attitude towards the young scholar was lukewarm, and he said distantly, you are you and I am me. What does it have to do with you if something happens to me? What do you have to explain to my father? Remember Lu Mensun, my relationship with you is not that good. The young scholar, Lu Mensun, stiffened when he heard this. Xiao Wuji clearly saw a hint of shame, anger, and resentment in the depths of Lu Mensun's eyes, but it disappeared in an instant. Lu Mensun was seen smiling. He opened his mouth and said, okay, Wuo, now is not the time to be a little angry, let's leave here first and then talk about it. Leave? Where do you want to go? King Han Chuangsha and 3 big men with beards have surrounded the 2 of them. The male evil spirit said with a fierce look, how dare you meddle in your own business, you damn scholar, and you don't even know who you are. If you want to be a hero and save a beauty, you must also consider your own weight. Be careful not to save the beauty, but get caught in it. Anvisha licked her lips, looked at the young scholar and said with a rippling smile, what a handsome scholar, if you are lonely at night, my sister can accompany you. Although the eldest daughter of the Qin family is beautiful, she is just a bean sprout and doesn't understand style. How can any sister understand you? Being called a bean sprout, Qin Wuo's face turned pale with anger. Bean sprouts, you are the bean sprouts. I have a lot of money, okay. Qin Wuo is disguised as a man at the moment, and what she looks like after the disguise, naturally, there is no advantage in her figure, and she is far behind compared with Envsha. However, Qin Wuo does not bother to compare with a witch like Envsha. Lu Mensun seemed to be afraid that Qin Wuo would misunderstand, and quickly explained, Wuo, in my heart only you. I wouldn't even give her a second look at such a witch. Qin Wuo said with an indifferent expression, it has nothing to do with me what kind of woman you like. I don't like you anyway. As soon as these words came out, King Han Chuangsha and the 3 bearded men all burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha, this is the first time I have seen such an interesting thing. Scholar, did you hear that? People look down on you. Why are you still being so sentimental here? If you put a hot face against a cold butt, the cold butt will just fart, and you won't be able to warm it if you cover it. It's better to get away. You are just a wild dog in Qin Wuo's eyes. She doesn't take you seriously at all. You must also want to use Qin Wuo to climb Qinhai Mountain as a backer, right? It's better to wash up and go to bed early, stop dreaming. You fart, I don't. Lu Mensun cursed loudly, and at the same time looked at Qin Wuo next to him, for fear that she would misunderstand. However, Qin Wuo had always been polite to the young scholar and did not even look at him. You despicable people, stop stirring up trouble here. Lu Mensun waved his folding fan, and immediately fanned out a large amount of innate true energy, rushing towards the cold-faced man and the one-eyed man. These 2 were the weakest and had been injured by Qin Wuo, which was their breakthrough point. Damn it, you treat me like a weakling. The cold-faced man and the one-eyed man were furious. They took action at the same time, defeating the scholar's killing move. At the same time, the King Han and Han evil spirits had already taken action together and came to Lu Mensun's back in an instant. The male evil spirit pointed at Lu Mensun. On the shoulder blade, there was only a click, and one of Lu Mensun's arms was disabled. The female evil spirit slapped Lu Mensun on the chest, causing Lu Mensun to vomit blood on the spot. Then King Han and the 2 evil spirits raised their hands, and if you want to catch him, he will capture Lu Mensun alive. Wuo, go quickly. Lu Mensun was seriously injured and was caught, vomiting blood, but he didn't care about his own life. Instead, he asked Qin Wuo to escape quickly. The kind of worry and urgency, and the love shown in life and death, are really touching. Rao has always been to Lu Mensoon's unpretentious Jin Wei also showed a trace of emotion and unbearable emotion at this moment. Miss Jin, you are Qin Haishan's daughter. You will not abandon your companions and escape by yourself, right? If that were the case, it would be detrimental to the family tradition. The male evil spirit grabbed Lu Mensoon and put the flying knife on his neck. With just a slight force, Lu Mensoon's neck could be cut, causing his blood to splatter on the spot. Lu Mensoon did not show any fear. She said affectionately, "Wuo, don't worry about me, just run away by yourself. As long as you survive, I will die with peace of mind." Somewhat moved. "If I weren't already married, you would have to marry me." Lu Mensoon roared, "Get away you bitch, Wu Yu is the only one in my heart. I have loved Wu Yu for 13 years. If you want to kill Wu Yu, you must kill me first." Nansha said, "Since you want to die, then I will grant it to you. Before you die, if you have any last words, please say them quickly." Lu Mensoon coughed up blood and said, "I do have one more thing on my mind. If I don't talk about it today, I'm afraid I won't have a chance in the future." As he spoke, Lu Mensoon looked at Qin Wu and said affectionately, "Wu, have you ever been tempted by me for a moment? If so, I will die without regrets today." "No." Facing Lu Mensoon's affectionate eyes, although Qin Wu was a little moved, he still told the truth. The two words "no" were categorical, like two thunders exploding in Lu Mensoon's ears. "No." Lu Mensoon was stunned for a moment, as if he thought he heard wrongly. His eyes widened in disbelief, and he instantly became angry. He never expected that even though he was like this, Qin Wu was still unmoved. Watch the storm. Is her heart really made of stone? The King Han Chuangsha behind her, and the three bearded men were a little stunned, and felt a little pity for Lu Mensoon in their hearts. They kept watching from the side. Xiang Xiaowuji also found it very interesting. After licking the dog until the end, there was nothing left. There is nothing more murderous and heartbreaking in the world than this. No, I have never had feelings for you. At this time, Qin Wu said something again. Click. Poof. Xiaowuji seemed to hear the sound of heartbreak and the heart being pierced by a knife. Qin Wu said, "Lu Mensoon, it's not that you are not good enough, but that I am Qin Wu has decided not to marry for the rest of her life and to pursue martial arts wholeheartedly. Whether it's you or any other man, I, Qin Wu, will never be tempted." Actually, Qin Wu has a secret in her heart. She has never told anyone about this secret, not even her father. It is precisely because of the secret that Qin Wu is destined to never fall in love with any man in this life. So Lu Meng, everything Sun did was in vain from the beginning. It seems that I can't impress you anymore. Lu Mensoon shook his head with regret and said. He stood up slowly and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. The broken arm was reattached, and his pale face returned to rosy. How could he still look weak and weak as before? Male Sha also at this time, he removed the throwing knife placed on Lu Mensoon's neck. "You, have you not?" Qin Wu looked at Lu Mensoon in front of him in shock. "Are you the mastermind behind all this?" "That's right." Lu Mensoon stood with his hands behind his back and said calmly. "Go ahead, it's actually like this." Lu Mensoon must have been hiding too deeply. They were stunned. They did this one after another, killing people without blood. Fortunately, they were killed by Lu Mensoon just now. I was moved and felt that he sacrificed his life and had deep love and righteousness. It would be a pity to die. Now that I think about it, they were really blind and were actually deceived by a hypocrite. "Sir, how did you see that?" Shuehua and Song Liman looked at Xiaowuji and asked. Xiaowuji said lightly, "It's very simple. It's such a coincidence that so many innate masters gathered together. There must be a mastermind behind the scenes. In addition, Lu Mensoon's attention has been on Qin Huo, so he guessed this possibility. The trope of a hero saving a beauty has long been used in Blue Star. Many wealthy second-generation, powerful playboys often use this trick when pursuing a woman. First, they bribe a group of gangsters and threaten them. The woman, then descended from the sky when the woman was in danger, showed great power, and beat the gangster away. Then the woman was grateful for the life-saving grace and fell in love with the male protagonist. This routine caused a wave of popularity when it first appeared, attracting many dandies to follow the trend. It did work at first. But after using it too many times, this routine became useless. So Xiao Wuji could see it at a glance. Since the soft one is not enough, then I can only use the hard one. Huo, don't blame me. Lu Mensoon looked at Qin Huo with a fierce look on his face. How could he still have the graceful demeanor of a young scholar at this moment? Qin Huo looked at Lu Mensoon and asked with a pale face, why are you doing this? Lu Mensoon raised his eyes and glanced at Xiao Wuji and his group, and said calmly, you don't need to know the reason. Come on, get her. Poof. As soon as he finished speaking, a sharp knife instantly pierced Lu Mensoon's chest. The sharp tip of the knife came out from his chest, and the blood dyed the luxurious clothes red. Poof. Lu Mensoon spurted out a mouthful of blood. He came out, his eyes widened, full of surprise and disbelief. He stared blankly at the sharp knife on his chest, turned around with difficulty, and only saw the cold and frosty faces of King Han Chuangsha. Why? Lu Mensoon didn't understand, why did the King Han Chuangsha kill him? They were hired by themselves, shouldn't they follow his orders? The male evil spirit smiled coldly and said, you don't need to know the reason. This sentence is exactly the same as what Lu Mensoon said to Qin Huo just one breath ago. Poof. The male evil spirit pulled out the sharp knife, Lu Mensoon vomited blood, his body collapsed suddenly, and he died with his eyes closed. Qin Huo was shocked by this sudden scene. Involuntarily took a few steps back, looking extremely alert. Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full-level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at West Lake. Chapter 165. Xiao Wuji on the side was also surprised for a moment. Shuehua, Song Liman and many Jin Yiwei were even more stunned. Today's scene was really exciting, with twists and turns, one link after another, making their heads buzz. With this plot, who can guess the ending? I thought it was a group of hooligans who took advantage of the situation, but when the young man in white saw an injustice on the road, he drew his sword to help. But he didn't expect that doing good deeds would turn into asking someone to commit suicide. The gangster and the victim were actually on the same team, in order to deceive the young hero in white. Then please enter the urn and evolve into a hero to save the beauty. I originally expected to see a touching drama about the deep love between men and women and their persistence in the face of life and death. But I didn't expect that the hero who saved the beauty was also a group of gangsters, and the purpose was to deceive the heroine. I originally thought that the heroine was already miserable enough, but I never expected that there would be a twist. The male protagonist who was previously confident of winning was suddenly killed. The gangsters and victims rebelled. Today's big drama is enough for Shuehua, Song Liman, and others to remember for a lifetime. Sir, did you expect this in advance? Shuehua and Song Liman looked at Xiao Wuji. Their eyes were filled with admiration and astonishment. My master's head is too powerful. He can see fire and have piercing eyes. Xiao Wuji sat expressionless and remained calm. Raise a glass and drink. To be honest, he only guessed that Lu Mensoon directed and acted in a 520 drama in which a hero saves a beauty. He did not guess that there would be a reversal in the follow-up. Now it seems that this King Han Chuangsha and there is a dark hand behind those three bearded men. Lu Mensoon is just a small chess piece. Qin Huo, just surrender and capture him, you have no way to escape today. 5 Fighting 1, Qin Wu has no power to parry. Okay, you can take action. Xiao Wuji said. Before he finished speaking, Shuihua and Song Liman had already rushed out. They had been waiting for a long time. Several general banners also followed him, killing the 5 great innates. With Shuihua and others, their strength is naturally no match for the 5 innate opponents such as King Han Chuangsha. But with Xiao Wuji behind them, they are not worried about being defeated. Shuihua slashed at the male evil spirit in King Han Chuangsha with a knife, and the embroidered spring knife covered the sharp true energy, until take the male evil spirit's head and put it on his neck. The male evil spirit reacted immediately, flying back and shooting 2 flying knives. However, as soon as the flying knives were shot out, they were knocked away by invisible force. It was Xiao Wuji who was raking the formation for Shuihua. Shuihua the knife fell and hit the male evil spirit in the chest, tearing a huge blood mark on his chest. The male evil spirit screamed and was chopped away by the knife. After he landed on the ground, he vomited blood. The boss. The female evil spirit's face changed drastically and she exclaimed. Just as she was about to go up to save people, she heard the sound of a knife ringing in her ears. It was Song Liman's killing move. Song Liman fell with the knife, and the innate essence turned into hot knife energy. Shockingly, it was the fierce sun slash of the Sanyang sword technique. Facing the charming female evil spirit, Song Liman's eyes flashed with surprise, but he showed no mercy at all. He always kept in mind Xiao Wuji's usual teachings to them: facing the enemy, regardless of the opponent, no matter what your identity is, you must not hold back. You must kill with one strike. Even if the enemy is a beautiful woman, an old man, or a child, there are no exceptions. The 3 most unprovoked people in the world are beauties, old men, and children. Once a child look at them, they are the ones who died. When the sword light struck, the female evil spirit showed a look of horror. She wanted to retreat but suddenly felt a pain in her knees and knelt down involuntarily. There was a pop and blood spattered. Song Liman struck with a knife. On the shoulder of the female evil spirit, one of her arms and shoulders were almost cut off. The female evil spirit screamed and flew backwards, just hitting the male evil spirit. At the same time, 3 other big men with beards were also in Jinyue. With the secret assistance of Xiao Wuji and Xiao Wuji, they were captured alive. Each of the 5 people was seriously injured, dripping with blood, and looked very embarrassed and miserable. It sounds slow, but in fact, the whole process only took 3 breaths. In the blink of an eye, the 5 innates who had previously shown off their power were the master has turned into 5 dead dogs. You, who are you? The male evil spirit looked at Shuihua, Song Liman, and others with horrified eyes. His face was full of horror. The same was true for the other people, all of them looked frightened and their souls were in danger. Qin Wu also looked at Shuihua and others with a wary expression. She did not dare to let down her guard at all. There had been too many reversals before, and she had been frightened. She was afraid that the people who had saved her just now would become enemies the next second. Shuihua and Song Liman looked at the seriously injured Ching Cheng. Han Chuangsha sneered, "Can't you recognize the knife in our hands? It's ridiculous that they even asked us who we were." Knife. King Han Chuangsha and others turned their attention to the sabers of Shuihua and others, and their pupils suddenly tightened. They didn't pay attention before, but now they discovered that Shuihua and others were equipped with Xiaochun knives. In the Great Zhou dynasty, who could use it? Xiaochun Dao. The answer is self-evident. You are Jinyue. The King Han Chuangsha and the 3 bearded men were pale and their livers and gallbladders were split with fear. They knew very well what crimes they had committed. They also knew that they were on the Jinyue's wanted list. If they fell into the hands of the Jinyue, their fate would be terrible. Life was worse than death. After learning that Shuihua and others were Jinyue, Qin Wu finally relaxed her vigilance and sheathed her sword. Her father was the Hanzhou camp general and a member of the imperial court, so Jin Yiwei had no reason to attack her. At the moment Qin Wu held the sword in his hand and said, "Thank you all for saving me, sir. Qin Wu is grateful in my heart. Qin Wu will definitely repay this kindness and affection in the coming days." Underscore. Lord Chahua. Qin Wu was shocked when he heard the words, and the 5 great innates were even more frightened. They never expected that there was actually a Qinhu Jinyi guard here, who was a powerful master who towered over them. Now they know why they didn't resist at all. The weak one was seriously injured and captured. It turned out that there was a Grand Master secretly dealing with them. Everyone looked at Xiao Wuji by the window. Xiao Wuji drank a glass of wine, then put down the glass and walked slowly to the 5 major buildings. In front of Xiantian. When Qin Wu saw Xiao Wuji, she immediately bowed and saluted. "My daughter Qin Wu has met the masters of Qinhu, and you are polite." Jinyiwei Qinhu, a 4th-rank official in the imperial court, has a status even higher than that of her father Qin Haishan. Although her father Qin Haishan is a state general, he is only an official posted abroad, and his status is far inferior to that of Jinyiwei Qinhu. Okay, no need to be polite. Xiao Wuji raised his hand to help Qin Wu up, and said, "My trip was originally to go to Hanzhou to find Qin Haishan, and it was fate that I rescued you on the way." "Find my father?" Qin Wu was shocked when he heard this, and quickly asked anxiously, "May I ask what you have to do with my father? It's not a good thing to be targeted by Jin Yiwei." Qin Wu was afraid that Xiao Wuji would lead people to ransack your home. Xiao Wuji glanced at her and said calmly, "Don't worry, I didn't come to ransack your home. As for the reason, you don't want to ask more." "Yes, I understand." Qin Wu lowered his head, not daring to ask any more questions. Xiao Wuji said, "You should first ask these people why they are targeting you, right? According to my opinion, their goal is not small, and they are ultimately heading for Qin Haishan." Qin Wu nodded and said, "Master Qinhu is wise, and I think so too." After that, Qin Wu walked up to the 5 people and asked in a cold voice, "Who sent you to catch me? Who is behind you? What do you want to do to my dad?" After Qin Wu's words, several Jin Yiwei chief lieutenants immediately put Ziochun knives on their necks and shouted coldly in unison, "Speak quickly." The sharp Ziochun knife cut open their skin, and streams of blood flowed out. The 5 people were trembling in fear, and the male among them said in a trembling voice, "Sir, please spare your life, your majesty, please spare your life, this is none of our business. We just take people's money to help them eliminate disasters." Qin Wu asked again, "Whose money did you take? What kind of disaster can be eliminated?" The male evil spirit screamed in horror, "We came here to arrest people after accepting the reward from Kishalu. As for who is the person who issued the reward, we really don't know." "Kishalu? Are you from Kishalu?" Qin Wu was shocked when he heard this, and a cold light flashed across Xiao Wuji's eyes. Kishalu, he hadn't heard the name of this force for a long time. Kishalu had sent people to assassinate him many times, and Xiao Wuji a great feud was forged. Unfortunately, the headquarters of the 7 Kills Tower was as well hidden as the demon cult headquarters. Xiao Wuji had nothing to do with the 7 Kills Tower. Even if he wanted to take revenge, he could not find anyone. "Are you all the killers of Kishalu?" Xiao Wuji looked at the 5 people and asked coldly. Yes, my lord, please spare my life, my lord, please spare your life." The 5 people nodded repeatedly, crying and kneeling down to beg for mercy. Xiao Wuji signaled with his eyes. Shuehua and Song Liman stepped forward and searched the 5 people's bodies. Sure enough, they found several reward orders for Kishalu. It seems true. Xiao Wuji shook his head slightly. Since he is from Kishalu, it is naturally impossible to find the mastermind behind the scenes. The killers in Kishalu only take orders based on bonuses, and they will not come into contact with people who offer bonuses. This is rules. Putting down the reward order, Xiao Wuji looked at the 5 people at his feet and said calmly, "Kill them, they are no longer useful, and keeping them is a waste of air." Yes. Hearing this, Shui, Hua, Song Liman, and others swung their swords to chop down. "No. Sir, have mercy. Us." Puff. 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 Only a few 5.9 sounds of sharp blades piercing flesh were heard, and the heads of 5 people were chopped off. 5 heads rolled on the ground, like 5 rubber balls. Grown-ups. Shuihua and Song Liman sheathed their swords, came behind Xiao Wuji and asked. Qin Wu also looked at Xiao Wuji, waiting for his order. This matter related to her father, she could not stand idly by. Xiao Wuji said, "The current situation, it's not clear yet, we'll have to wait until we get to Hanzhou to discuss everything. I also need to go." Qin Wu said from the side. Xiao Wuji looked at Qin Wu, nodded and said, "Okay, you come with us." "Thank you, sir." Qin Wu clasped his fists and saluted to express his thanks. At this moment, the sound of rapid footsteps sounded, followed by shouts. Come on, the murderer is on the 2nd floor. Everyone, come together, we must not let the murderer escape. If something goes wrong, be careful, I want your heads." Following the sound of footsteps, a group of policemen rushed up to the lobby on the 2nd floor, numbering 50 or 60 people. After seeing Xiao Wuji and his group and the corpses on the ground, they immediately surrounded them and drew their swords at Xiao Wuji and others. People are always ready to come forward and fight. Where is the murderer? Where is the murderer? The policemen separated a lane and let a middle-aged man in official uniform come over. Judging from the pattern of the official uniform, this man is the magistrate of Ju County. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full-level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at Westlake. Chapter 166. The county magistrate led people to rush to the 2nd floor. After seeing Xiao Wuji and others, his eyes suddenly lit up and he yelled, "What a group of thieves, they dare to kill people in broad daylight. Do you still have the laws of Zhou dynasty in your eyes? Come on, let me take down these thieves. If there is resistance, shoot without mercy." The policeman was about to take action when he saw Shuihua step forward and roared, "Bold! Jin Yiwei is here, who dares to act rashly?" Immediately took out a Jin Yiwei token and pointed it at the police officers. "The Jin Yiwei is here to capture the important criminal. Are you all blind? Still not giving up? If you collide with the Qinhu adults, can you bear it? Jin Yiwei. Lord Chihua." When many of the police officers saw the Jin Yiwei token, they were immediately frightened and no longer dared to act rashly. Even the county magistrate was startled. The Jin Yiwei are the emperor's own soldiers. They are authorized by the emperor to kill first and then report. They are superior to all officials. This was something that a small county magistrate like him could not offend. The county magistrate hurriedly stepped forward to check the token and confirmed that it was genuine. He quickly bowed and saluted, "I don't know that Lord Beihu is here. I am not welcoming you from afar, but I am still here, hope for forgiveness." Although Shuihua is only a trial 100 households, he is also a 6th rank official in the imperial court. The small magistrate of Ju County is only an 8th rank official, which is far worse than Shuihua, so he is naturally extremely respectful. Shuihua put away his token and said to the county magistrate, introduced him, "This is Mr. Xiao from Qinhu of Jinyue, come and see me soon." Lord Chihua. The county magistrate's heart was beating wildly and he felt like he was suffocating. He quickly knelt down at Xiao Wuji's feet and kowtowed. Cao Yiming, magistrate of Ju County, Xiaoguan 15, pays homage to Mr. Kinhu. Meet Mr. Sinhu. The police officers behind Cao Yiming all knelt down and saluted. Xiao Wuji glanced at everyone and said calmly, "Get up." "Thank you, sir." Cao Yiming stood up tremblingly, waving his sleeves to wipe the cold sweat from his forehead. He felt that his legs were weak. He originally thought that he could catch a group of gangsters today, make a great contribution, and add to his political achievements. He never expected that he would collide. He was a guard of thousands of households in Jinyi. His eyes were black, and he felt that his future was bleak and irrelevant. Let alone being promoted now, he might not even be able to keep his current black gauze hat. Xiao Wuji looked at the panicked Cao Yiming and said, "Okay. You don't know what happened today, and those who don't know are not guilty. Just take care of things here. I don't blame you." "Real? Thank you, Mr. Chahua." Cao Yiming was overjoyed and excited. He thought he was dead, but he didn't expect that Xiao Wuji, a member of the Jinyi Kinhu, was so approachable and didn't hold grudges at all. It was completely different from the tiger and wolf Jinyi in his impression. If it were anyone else, how would he feel today? He also had to be cut to avoid disaster. Xiao Wuji really didn't want to put small shoes on the Cao Yiming. It took about a cup of tea from the conflict to the present. In such a short period of time, Cao Yiming came with the police and he personally led the team to arrest people. From this point of view, it proves that the Cao Yiming is not a timid person, but can barely be regarded as a responsible county magistrate. In this world of high martial arts, timid officials, that's too much. In some places, warrior murder cases occur. Let alone rushing to the scene in a cup of tea, I'm afraid that a day will pass without seeing the shadow of the police, let alone the county magistrate himself. The team has arrested someone. Xiao Wuji doesn't hate officials like Cao Yiming. I also invite Mr. Kinhu to go to the government office for a short break. Enter. Cao Yiming came back to his senses and started to make friends. Such a young Jinyi Kinhu has a thick thigh. If he gets to know him, it will be good for his career. Xiao Wuji shook his head and said, "No, I still have official business to deal with." "Well, that's a pity." Cao Yiming looked disappointed. After leaving Ju County, Xiao Wuji and his party rushed to Hanzhou as quickly as possible. 7 days later, they finally arrived at Hanzhou City. "Sir, please come with me." After entering the city, Qin Huo led the way, leading Xiao Wuji and others to the gate of the general's mansion. There were 2 soldiers in armor guarding the gate. When they saw Xiao Wuji and his group arriving, they immediately stepped forward to block the way. "This is the general mansion, no one can come near, please leave as soon as possible." "It's me." Qin Huo turned over and dismounted, and said to the soldier, "Who are you?" The soldier looked at Qin Huo with a confused face and didn't recognize it at all, because Qin Huo was still disguised as a man at the moment. Not everyone has Xiao Wuji's eyesight and can see through Qin Huo's disguise at a glance. "It's me," Qin Huo said again, and at the same time raised the sword in his hand. The soldier looked at the sword, then at Qin Huo's face, and finally recognized Qin Huo's identity. "It turns out to be Miss. Miss, you are finally back." The soldier looked surprised and saluted quickly and said, "The general was so angry when he learned that the lady had run away from home. He sent many people to find the lady." "Who are these people?" The soldiers looked at Xiao Wuji and his party behind Qin Huo with a look of caution on their faces. Qin Huo ran away from home, but brought so many people back with him. Could he be some evil heretic from the world? The soldiers were afraid of Qin Huo. She was deceived, so she was extra vigilant. Qin Huo said, "These people are the masters of Jinyi and are here to find my father. Go and report to your father quickly." "People from Jinyi." The soldier's face changed when he heard this, and he was shocked. His first reaction was the same as Qin Huo's, they both thought that the Jin Yiwei came to ransack the house. But he did not dare to ask about this, so he had to rush into the general's mansion to report. At the same time, Xiao Wuji and others also entered the general's mansion under the leadership of Qin Wu. At this moment, there was a martial arts training ground in the backyard of the general's mansion. There was an 8-foot-tall, strong, and sturdy man practicing martial arts. He was Hanzhou the battalion commander, Qin Haishan. Qin Haishan is holding a spear and wielding it with great force. To stab, prick, tease, and poke, to hold, block, twist, and provoke. When he performed basic marksmanship moves such as pressing, splitting, collapsing, and dancing, they were very powerful. Each move hit the vital point directly, and every move was accurate. This shows that this person's basic skills are very solid. Qin Haishan thrust out a spear, saying that it was stabbing. If you hit a fly's left eye, you won't hit the fly's right eye. Immediately, Qin Haishan's marksmanship suddenly changed. It was no longer a basic marksmanship, but a set of top marksmanship skills. I saw the spear piercing the sky. The powerful force swept across, like a tiger roaring and a dragon roaring, destroying the dead, the wind howling, and the yellow sand thousands of miles away. What Qin Haishan was using at this moment was the spear technique used by the imperial army of the Great Zhou dynasty, called the Overlord Spear of Breaking the Formation. The Overlord Spear of Breaking the Formation was used by Taizhu, the founding father of the Great Zhou dynasty. Created by the number 1 general, every move and style is honed through countless battlefield killings. It is infinitely powerful and is the top level of 7th grade martial arts. If he fights alone, Qin Haishan's strength may not be as good as some martial arts masters. But if he is in on the battlefield, Qin Haishan used his formation-breaking Overlord Spear, which could easily kill a 1,000-man cavalry brigade. With a loud bang, Qin Haishan slashed down with the spear, and the force of the spear shot out of the air, hitting a half-man-tall weapon in front of him. The boulder was chopped into powder. Huh! 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 Then, Qin Haishan waved his spear, put it away and stood up, letting out a long breath. But at this moment, rapid footsteps sounded, and a soldier hurried over. "General Qi, the lady is back." Qin Haishan's face darkened when he heard this, and he snorted coldly, "Humph, that crazy girl finally knows she's back. When I come back this time, I'm afraid I'll get into some trouble again." While speaking, Qin Haishan casually threw the spear into the hands of the soldiers. The soldier was not prepared and was directly hit by the spear and sat on the ground. Qin Haishan is a strong master and is born with divine power. His unique weapon weighs 188 pounds, it almost killed that soldier. "General! General! The soldier also wanted to say that the lady came back this time with the royal guard. But Qin Haishan walked in a hurry and walked too fast. He wanted to say that it was too late. In the lobby of the general's mansion, Xiao Wuji was sitting at the main seat, drinking tea quietly. Xuehua and Song Liman stood behind him, one on the left and the other on the right. As for the other Jinyi guards, they stood in 2 rows outside the hall. At this moment, a low roar suddenly came, "Wuo! Wuo, where are you?" Xiao Wuji followed the voice and saw Qin Haishan walking swaggeringly outside the hall. The way he looks like a dragon walking like a tiger, he looks like a mighty general in the army. Who are you?" Qin Haishan noticed the presence of Jin Yiwei, and his expression changed. At the same time, he also saw Xiao Wuji sitting in the main seat in the hall. 487 Although Xiao Wuji was young, his aura was calm, not angry, and his aura was actually stronger than his. The general returns the favor. "Father, let me introduce to you, this is Mr. Xiao from Qinhu of Jinyiwei." Qin Wu was afraid that his father would misunderstand, so he quickly stepped forward to introduce Xiao Wuji to him. "Jinyiwei Qinhu." Qin Haishan was shocked when he heard this, but he didn't believe it immediately. Instead, he cupped his hands and said, "May I ask if you have any proof?" The army has always had the habit of verifying military talismans when deploying troops. Now that someone comes to claim that he is a royal guard, Qin Haishan will of course have to verify it. If someone pretends to be a guard and causes a big disaster, it will be the crime of confiscating the family and exterminating the family, so Qin Haishan don't dare to be careless. Xiao Wuji said it should be, the Jinyai Wei token is here. While speaking, Xiao Wuji took out a token from his arms and threw it to Qin Haishan. Qin Haishan took the token and looked at it, and his pupils tightened instantly. He had seen the Jinyai Wei token before, and he could tell at a glance that it was real. And this token is different from the Kinhu token he has seen before. Because there are two large bloody characters on it, 13. This proves that Xiao Wuji is not an ordinary Jinyi guard Kinhu, but one of the 13 Taibao. Especially the name of Xiao Wuji made Qin Haishan's heart go up and down. How could he not have heard of this name? Xiao Wuji, a member of Kinhu Jinyiwei, currently at the top of the Earth ranking, a top half-step Grandmaster level now. Xiao Wuji's name has spread throughout the world, and it can be said that no one knows it. Qin Haishan, who came back to his senses, did not dare to neglect, and quickly bent down and saluted, saying the last General Hanzhou camp joined Qin Haishan and see Mr. Xiao. The General of Hans Hoying is a 4th-grade military general from the Imperial Court. In terms of official position, he is the same as Xiao Wuji's Kinhu. But the general is a foreign official, and the Imperial Guard Kinhu is a capital official. Moreover, Xiao Wuji is also one of the 13 Taibao, and his rights are much bigger than him. Moreover, Xiao Wuji's strength is far superior to that of Qin Haishan. Qin Haishan naturally does not dare to neglect him. Xiao Wuji took back the token and said, "General Qin, there is no need to be polite, get up." "Thank you, sir." Qin Haishan stood up, looked at Xiao Wuji, and asked, "May I ask why Mr. Xiao came to the house, but the little girl offended Mr. Xiao?" Martial Arts, become invincible starting from the full-level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at Westlake. Chapter 167. After Qin Haishan stood up, he looked at Xiao Wuji and asked, "Dare I ask why Mr. Xiao came to the house?" "But my daughter has offended Mr. Xiao." "If my daughter has offended me in any way, I hope you will forgive me and I will apologize here." Qin Haishan only has one daughter, Qin Wu. Although this daughter is rebellious by nature and often gets angry with him and even runs away from home, Qin Haishan is still very concerned about his daughter. Xiao Wuji shook his head and said, "General Qin, don't worry, I will. It was just a coincidence that Guan met Miss Wu, and she had nothing to offend. I came to Hanzhou this time to act on His Majesty's orders. Because I needed General Qin's help for this mission, I came here for a visit." Qin Haishan breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this, and hurriedly patted his chest and said, "Since Mr. Xiao came here according to His Majesty's order, the general will naturally do everything he can. If Mr. Xiao has any mission, he will be shattered into pieces and will not hesitate to do so. Please also ask Mr. Xiao to explain clearly, what is this mission?" Xiao Wuji did not speak, but glanced at Qin Wu. Qin Haishan immediately knew what Xiao Wuji meant, looked at Qin Wu and said, "Wu, you go down first, I have important matters to discuss with Mr. Xiao." Qin Wu was a little reluctant, but she did not dare to go against Qin Haishan's wishes and could only leave obediently. She also knew that there were some secrets in the court that could not be known to outsiders. Even if she was Qin Haishan's daughter, she was no exception. Qin Wu Yu left, and all the servants serving around him also left. Xiao Wuji looked at Qin Haishan and said, "General Qin has been guarding Hanzhou for many years. He must have heard of the evil blood sect, right?" Qin Haishan nodded when he heard this and said, "Of course the general will know. The evil blood sect is the largest evil sect in the Hanzhou area. All the sects are murderous demons. Their sect is located in Ilang Mountain, 70 miles away from Hanzhou City. Speaking of the evil blood sect, Qin Haishan's eyes radiated cold light, and his murderous intent was clearly revealed. The imperial court has long been determined to eradicate the evil blood sect and has sent people to attack it many times. The last general also participated in the attack. However, the terrain of Ilang Mountain is dangerous, and the evil blood sect has set up maze formations and killing formations, making it difficult for the army to move forward after entering. In addition, there are so many experts in the evil blood sect that all the crusade failed. Although the general has the intention to eliminate the thieves, he does not have the power to eliminate them. What can he do? Qin Haishan shook his head and sighed, sighing. Xiao Wuji said this time the evil blood sect committed a serious crime of treason, which made His Majesty Longyan furious. It happened that the leader of the evil blood sect, Shui Wuxian, was dead, and the deputy leader, Shui Hong'ai, was also beheaded by me. This was the time when the evil blood sect was at its weakest. Your Majesty issued an express decree, ordering me to exterminate the evil blood sect without leaving anyone alive. That's why I came to Hanzhou today. It turns out to be like this. Could it be that when the demon sect invaded Jinling before, the evil blood sect was also involved? Qin Haishan was a little shocked when he heard this. The demon sect caused trouble in Jinling and assassinated the emperor. This matter has been spread all over the world. But because the demon sect was so bright, Shui Wuxian, the leader of the evil blood sect who participated in it, was ignored. Everyone in the world this Haimo sect is so bold, but few people know that the evil blood sect is also involved in this matter. Xiao Wuji nodded and said that's exactly it. These demons are so audacious and deserve death. Qin Haishan was furious and his murderous intent erupted. He looked at Xiao Wuji and said, Your Majesty, give the order. No matter what your plans are, I will definitely obey them. Okay, I already know General Qin's desire to eliminate demons and love the people. General Qin is also asked to go to the military camp quickly and mobilize 2,000 troops to await orders. Will 2,000 people be a little less? Qin Haishan heard this and said, as far as the general knows, there are at least 3,000 disciples of the evil blood section plus the elders and guardians in the sect. 2,000 may not be enough. I'd better deploy more people, right? Hanzhou camp has 30,000 troops and horses, leaving 20,000 troops to guard Hanzhou is more than enough. At the end of the day, the general can mobilize 10,000 troops to help you. No. Xiao Wuji shook his head and said, with my authority, mobilizing 2,000 troops is already the limit. If the number of troops deployed exceeds the quota, it will be suspected of overstepping the limit. If someone gets caught with something in the future, he will be impeached by the censor. By then, not only will I be held accountable, but even Mr. Qin will not be able to escape the blame. Qin Haishan frowned when he heard this. Only then did he remember that although the 13 Taibao had the authority to mobilize troops, the number of troops they could mobilize was limited. Xiao Wuji ranked 13th and could only mobilize a maximum of 2,000 troops. Private deployment of troops a little more, if no outsiders know about it, and if you cover it up in time afterwards, it is not a big deal. After all, in extraordinary times, extraordinary measures should be taken. But there is no airtight wall in the world, and if you are caught, it is also a crime. Xiao Wuji acted cautiously, and naturally he would not leave any clues. Besides, with Xiao Wuji's strength, it is more than enough to lead 2,000 troops. What the Lord said is that the general will know. Qin Haishan cupped his fists and saluted, secretly sighing in his heart that although Xiao Wuji was young, he was deeply familiar with the ways of officialdom. Such a flawless acting style was as good as those of those old officials. After the order was issued, Qin Haishan would of course mobilize his troops. But before dispatching troops, Qin Haishan went to see his daughter first. Wuo, tell Dad honestly, how did you meet Xiao Qinhu? Have you ever offended him? Although Xiao Wuji has already said that Qin Wu has nothing to offend, Qin Haishan still wants to ask one more question. Qin Wu shook his head and said, "Dad, I really didn't offend him." After that, Qin Wu told all about how he met Xiao Wuji and what happened on the road from beginning to end. In particular, he talked about the matter of Kishalu sending people to arrest her. "Dad, the killers from Kishalu are coming fiercely, and they must be coming for you. Dad must be prepared in advance," Qin Wu reminded. After hearing what happened, Qin Haishan also felt that this matter was not trivial. He nodded solemnly and said, "Dad knows, Dad will pay attention. This matter must be planned by the Anita Kyo again. You have to be careful in the recent period. The people in Kishalu will not give up until they achieve their goals. They failed last time and will definitely come back again. And the Lu family, that little beast Lu Monsoon actually dares to plot to harm you. Dad will never let it go. Fortunately, Mr. Xiao saved you. As a father, you must thank him properly for this life-saving grace." Even if Xiao Wuji is not here at the moment, Qin Haishan still talks about Master Xiao and obviously respects him very much. Qin Wu also noticed Qin Haishan's attitude and felt a little surprised. She knew her father's character very well. It would be an exaggeration to say that he was arrogant and arrogant. But as a general for many years, Qin Haishan's superior attitude had already been deeply rooted in his bones. Many officials in Hanzhou City, Qin Haishan looked down on none of them. On the contrary, Xiao Wuji was young, but Qin Haishan respected him very much, which made Qin Wu doubtful. "Dad, who is that Xiao Qinhu? Jinyu Qinhu's rank should be the same as his father's, right? Why does Dad seem a little afraid of him?" Qin Wu asked. Although he and Xiao Wuji came to Hanzhou all the way and spent a few days together, Xiao Wuji did not reveal anything about himself. Therefore, Qin Wu's understanding of Xiao Wuji was limited to knowing that Xiao Wuji's surname was Xiao. Is 1,000 households of Jinyue, and nothing else is known. Qin Haishan shook his head and sighed. "It can't be compared, it can't be compared. Your father's last 2 moments are absolutely incomparable to Xiao Qinhu's. Is he that powerful?" Qin Wu didn't believe it. Qin Haishan didn't explain too much. He just picked up a roster on the bookshelf and handed it to Qin Wu. "Isn't this the Tianji list and Earth list? What are you giving me this for?" Qin Wu was confused. She ran away from home and traveled around the world, just to become a world-famous hero one day. The goal at this stage is to be on the Qianlong ranking. As for the Earth ranking, Qin Wu never dared to think about it. Qin Haishan said, "You will know after seeing it. Xiao Qinhu is now at the top of the list." "What?" Qin Wu was shocked when she heard this, and quickly opened the land list to look through it. After reading Xiao Wuji's life introduction and achievements, Qin Wu was completely stunned, and her mind went blank. She never expected that Xiao Wuji's background was so big. A half-step master at the level of a celestial being. That is a realm that even her father cannot compare to. I really didn't expect that he was actually Xiao Wuji. At this moment, Qin Wu was only left with a deep shock. Xiao Wuji, the top of the Earth rankings, counterattacked the great master with half a step to the realm of heaven and man. He has become famous all over the world in a century. Qin Haishan looked at Qin Wu with a shocked look on his face. He rolled his eyes and didn't know what he thought of. He grinned and said, "Daughter, what do you think of Xiao Qinhu?" When Qin Wu heard this, he suddenly looked wary, tilted his head back and said, "Dad, what do you want to do? Every time you look like this, it's bound to be up to no good. What are you saying?" Qin Haishan glared and said, "I am your father, will I harm you, Qin?" Wu nodded and said, "If he were someone else's father, he might not. But as your father, you can't say for sure." Qin Haishan covered his chest, feeling like a knife was inserted into his heart, which made him feel so painful that he felt like vomiting blood. Seeing Qin Haishan's appearance, Qin Huo couldn't help but shake his head and said, "Dad, I understand what you mean. You want to ask, do I have a good impression of Xiaoqianhu?" "That's right." Qin Haishan's eyes lit up and he looked at Qin Huo expectantly. It's so pitiful that Qin Haishan has only one daughter in his life, and his hair is turning gray because of worries about her lifelong event. But Qin Huo and other people's family, my daughter is different. Qin Huo has not loved reading and writing since she was a child, nor does she love piano, chess, calligraphy, and painting. She also knows nothing about women's clothing and embroidery. She has only one hobby, which is to practice martial arts. She also made bold words. She, Qin Huo, had already decided not to marry for the rest of her life and to pursue martial arts wholeheartedly. She even beat the matchmaker who came to propose marriage until her bones were broken. You must know that when Qin Haishan heard these words, he was so angry that he blew his beard and stared. It's okay to say that the daughter's family likes to practice martial arts. There are many female heroes in the world. But it's not enough if you don't marry. How can there be a daughter's family who doesn't marry? Qin Haishan always thought that Qin Huo had a high vision. Not as good as those crooked melons and cracked dates. But Xiao Wuji is different. He is young and promising, handsome, holds a high position, and has strong martial arts. There is no young talent in the world who can compare with Xiao Wuji. Such a man, finally you can impress Qin Huo. Qin Haishan thought to himself that as long as Qin Huo had a good impression of Xiao Wuji, he would be willing to set up a matchmaking relationship for his daughter even if he gave up his old face. Xiao Wuji, who was in the guest room, would never have thought that today Qin Haishan, who had only met him once, already had the idea of marrying his daughter to him. If Xiao Wuji knew about it, he would definitely laugh or cry. Were all married daughters so hasty in ancient times? Suyu was like this, and now even Qin Haishan is the same like this. Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full-level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at Westlake. Chapter 168. Qin Huo looked at Qin Haishan calmly and said calmly, "Dad, my daughter has already said that she does not want to get married. Also, I have no feelings for Xiaoqianhu." Qin Haishan looked at Qin Huo's calm eyes and knew that she was not lying, so his face sank and he asked, "Then what kind of man do you like? As long as you tell me, Dad can find it for you even if you risk your life." Qin Huo said helplessly, "Dad, do you really want to marry off your daughter? Don't want your daughter to spend more time with you?" Qin Haishan said, "Of course I want you to spend more time with me as a father, but your lifelong issues must also be resolved. If you don't get married, how will your father explain to your dead mother?" Qin Haishan's wife was a female general. She fought side by side with Qin Haishan and killed the enemy on the battlefield. But in a battle, Qin Haishan's wife sacrificed herself to block Qin Haishan's sword and died under the enemy's sword. Qin Haishan was heartbroken and never married again. He was alone and devoted himself to taking care of himself and his late wife's daughter Qin Huo. Only by finding the perfect husband for Qin Huo and making her live a happy life could Qin Haishan feel worthy of his dead wife. If Qin Huo never marries and ends up alone, how will Qin Haishan explain to the Lady Underjiquan when he dies? Qin Huo looked at the gloomy Qin Haishan, shook his head and said, "Dad, you really don't force me. Yes, I really don't want to get married." Qin Haishan looked at Qin Huo's persistence and shook his head helplessly. He really had nothing to do with his daughter. Forget it, I won't advise you any more as a father." Qin Haishan shook his head and sighed, and walked out of Qin Huo's room with his hands behind his back. The daughter he gave birth to, no matter how rebellious he was, had to be raised by himself. Who can blame him? After leaving the general's residence, Qin Haishan went to the military camp and immediately ordered a team of thousands was on standby. At midnight and early that morning, at the Hanzhou City military camp, Xiao Wuji gave an order, and 2,000 soldiers set off under the cover of night and rushed to Along Mountain, where the evil blood sect is located. According to legend, more than 1,000 years ago, there was a peerless warrior. Here Zhan 027 killed a real dragon, and then with the help of Dragon Slayer's luck, he shattered the void and soared into the sky. The corpse of the real dragon turned into a mountain, and the dragon's blood dyed the land red. This is how the name of Along Mountain comes from. Come. The terrain of Along Mountain is steep, and the masters of the evil blood sect's formations have set up maze formations and killing formations here as a barrier for the evil blood section. Only in this way can they withstand the Imperial Army's attacks many times. Wow! At the foot of Along Mountain, Xiao Wuji pulled the reins and stopped the horse under his crotch. The army behind him stopped in place. Mr. Xiao, there are maze formations and killing formations set up by evil blood sect masters in Along Mountain. If they break through by force, the army will probably suffer heavy losses. Qin Haishan said from the side. Xiao Wuji glanced at Along Mountain with cold eyes and said expressionlessly, "It doesn't matter, I am here, just a confusing formation and killing formation, nothing can do to us." After receiving my order, the army marched into Along Mountain. Today, the evil blood sect will be wiped out with blood. As long as they are alive, no one will be spared and they will be killed without mercy. Xiao Wuji rode forward and rushed into Along Mountain first. With absolute strength, Xiao Wuji was absolutely sure. It's just an evil blood sect, and the masters are dead. What else is there to be afraid of? Hesitate for a second, it's all disrespectful to him. Shuehua, Song Liman and other Jin Yiwei behind him didn't hesitate at all and immediately followed. Qin Haishan hesitated when he saw this. He felt that Xiao Wuji was a reckless man, and he just rushed in without any preparation. Knowing that there are ambushes and traps ahead, but still forcing his way in, this is not what a smart person would do. But he did not dare to disobey Xiao Wuji's order. After all, Xiao Wuji had the emperor's order. To disobey him was to disobey the imperial edict. Helpless, Qin Haishan also followed. He only hoped that Xiao Wuji was really sure before doing so. At least Xiao Wuji's reputation as the top of the list gave him a little confidence. The 2,000 soldiers in the rear saw Qin Haishan's action, and naturally I also followed closely. I rushed into Along Mountain. The mountains are densely forested. The trees and vegetation growing here are very special. Both the trunks and leaves are red. Even the grass is red. It seems that it has really absorbed the soil. The true dragon's blood in it. Hoo! 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 Suddenly, a strong wind blew in the woods, and large swaths of blood mist rushed out from the depths of the dense forest. As soon as the blood mist appeared, everyone smelled the disgusting smell. Bloody smell. Mr. Xiao, be careful, this is the blood mist formation set up by the evil blood sect, it contains extremely poison. Qin Haishan reminded loudly at the side. He had led troops to attack the evil blood sect, so he had some understanding of the evil blood sect's methods. The last time the army went on a crusade, they almost arrived at this place, and the army was ambushed by the blood mist formation. Hundreds or thousands of people were killed or injured. Xiao Wuji looked at the sudden blood mist with cold eyes, and said calmly, "It's just a heresy, it's no big deal." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Wuji jumped up from the horse. There was a clang of a knife, and the swaying Kuang sword automatically unsheathed itself and fell into Xiao Wuji's hand. Then a 30-meter giant sword energy fell from the sky, slashing heavily on the above the blood mist. There was a 3-foot eye seal of the 6th art of Aehan. The sword energy tore the blood mist apart, and the extremely cold sword energy exploded, rushing in all directions, instantly freezing everything around dozens of feet in diameter. Only the sound was heard. Several screams came from the end of the blood mist, and then stopped suddenly. With a whoosh, Xiao Wuji fell from the sky and fell back on his horse. Behind him, Qin Haishan and the 2,000 soldiers looked at the frosty land and the huge knife marks on the ground. Already dumbfounded at this moment. So strong, too strong, this is the strength that tops the earth ranking. Qin Haishan was only left with a deep shock in his heart. Hearing what he heard was not as good as seeing it with his own eyes. In the past, he had always heard how powerful Xiao Wuji was at the top of the world rankings, but he had no idea. But after seeing this sword today, he finally knew something probably. Just the casual blow that Xiao Wuji just made was not something he could take. This proved that if Xiao Wuji wanted to kill him, just one move would be enough. So strong, he deserves to be the Jinyu Weiqinhu. I heard that Mr. Xiao is still at the top of the earth ranking. He is much stronger than our general. That's of course, our generals can't even be ranked on the ground rankings. Shhh, keep your voice down, don't let the general hear you. No, the general is more surprised than us. If we follow Mr. Xiao today, we will definitely make great achievements. The soldiers were talking in low voices, thinking that Qin Haishan couldn't hear it. But in fact, Qin Haishan heard it clearly. His face was a little dark, and he wanted to turn around and scold the soldiers. He dared to arrange for his superiors, so he was killed, right? Whose soldiers are you, BHBC? Xiao Wuji glanced at the dense forest around him, his eyes were looking at 6 directions, and his ears were listening from all directions. The evil blood sect's ambush was one after another. Seeing that the blood mist didn't work, they would definitely he came to kill him personally. As expected, a sparse sound of footsteps came from all directions in the dense forest. Xiao Wuji had no expression on his face and shouted coldly, "The army is on alert, people from the evil blood sect are coming." The moment the voice fell, all 2,000 soldiers were on alert and set up their battle formations. In the blink of an eye, all 2,000 soldiers were in full formation. The shield soldiers were at the front, the pikemen lined up behind the shield soldiers, and the archers at the rear. Their movements are clean and neat, their actions are orderly, and they cooperate with each other tacitly. It can be seen that they have been well trained. Elite soldiers. It can also be seen from here that Qin Haishan does not slack off on weekdays. He trains the Hanzhou camp troops very well. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, countless bloody figures emerged from the dense forest. Xiao Wuji took a glance and estimated that there were about 300 to 400 people. As soon as the disciples of the evil blood sect appeared, they rushed towards the army desperately, shouts of killing one after another. Qin Haishan took a step forward and shouted, "Archers, get ready, shoot." At the command, the archers set up their bows and fired, and suddenly thousands of arrows were fired. Arrows rained down from the sky, and several rows of evil blood sect disciples in front fell down like wheat. Kill, don't retreat. Kill these imperial eagle dogs. Let these lackeys know how powerful our evil blood sect is. A disciple of the evil blood sect brandished his sword and roared, but as soon as he finished speaking, his throat was pierced by an arrow, and he fell to the ground dead. We can't waste time here, the news of our entry into the mountain has been leaked, and the elder protector of the evil blood sect may lead people to escape. Qin Haishan said with a solemn expression, and immediately jumped up from his horse and rushed into the enemy army. A spear thrust out and instantly penetrated the 3 evil blood sect disciples, turning them into mutton skewers. With a flick of the gun barrel, the gunpowder exploded, blowing 3 evil blood sect disciples to pieces. Then Qin Haishan rotated the spear, directly drawing a 360-degree circle. The gunpowder swept across, killing 30 or 40 people around him. The disciples of the evil blood sect blocked the way and cut them off. This group of disciples of the evil blood sect, who did not even have the innate realm, were like ants in front of Qin Haishan. The army also followed Qin Haishan and rushed out, swarming up and killing all the disciples of the evil blood sect. Less than in just 1 cup of tea, the entire army of 300 to 400 evil blood sect disciples was wiped out. Without the assistance of the blood mist formation, this group of evil blood sect disciples simply did not have the strength to fight head-on with the army. After a fierce battle, the soldiers were killed and injured. With less than 50 people, it was considered a great victory. Go, keep going. Xiao Wuji gave an order, and the army set off again, heading towards the evil blood sect's mountain gate. At this moment, in the main hall of the evil blood sect's mountain gate, the 5 elders gathered together, all with gloomy faces. Damn it, these court eagle dogs are really hateful, they actually came to kill them so quickly. The red-faced 5th elder slapped the armrest and smashed it into pieces. The 4th elder gritted his teeth. Okay, it's too late to talk about this now. The most urgent task is to think about how to retreat from the enemy. The great elder of the evil blood sect said the evil blood sect has inherited a history of 136 years, and it must not be destroyed in the hands of our generation. I have sent the disciples guarding the mountain to fight. Relying on the blood mist formation, we should be able to stop them for a while. When many of them die, they will naturally retreat. Even if the blood mist formation is broken, there will still be the maze formation and the white tiger formation behind it. These 3 lines of defense alone are enough for them to drink a pot. With Qin Haishan's strength, it is impossible to pass these 3 levels. When several elders heard what the elder said, they all nodded slightly in agreement. The evil blood sect is adjacent to Hanzhou City. Not only Qin Haishan knows the evil blood sect, but the people of the evil blood sect also know Qin Haishan. The 5 elders all know Qin Haishan's strength, although stronger than the 4th elder and the 5th elder of the evil blood sect, they were evenly matched with the 3rd elder. Both the 1st elder and the 2nd elder could defeat Qin Haishan. But at this moment, an emergency message suddenly came from outside the hall. No good, something serious is bad. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full level magic system. Author, drunk in March at Westlake. Chapter 169. No good, something serious is bad. I saw an evil blood sect disciple crawling into the hall, shouting in a panic to the 5 elders, it's serious, 5 elders, the blood mist formation at the bottom of the mountain has been broken, and all the disciples guarding the mountain have been wiped out. The Imperial army is coming towards the mountain gate. Impossible. As soon as they heard this, the faces of all the 5 elders changed drastically. The 4th elder and the 5th elder even stood up straight, with a few drops of cold sweat dripping from their foreheads. Please tell me clearly, how could the blood mist formation be broken? You dare to deceive me and talk nonsense here. The 5th elder teleported to the disciple, grabbed him by the collar, and lifted him off the ground. The 5th elder's eyes were wide open, with a fierce look, like a crazed tiger, as if it wanted to choose someone to devour. The disciple clutched his neck tightly, feeling like he was about to be out of breath. He said tremblingly, really, what the disciple said is true. It's all true, disciple, don't dare, deceive elders. Blood mist, grand formation, really, broken. Crack. The furious 5th elder directly broke the disciple's neck and threw the body into the poisonous pit in the center of the hall. Blood mist filled the air, poisonous insects and snakes bitten, and soon only a skeleton remained on the body. How could the blood mist formation be broken? Even if it is broken, it can't be so fast. It's less than a cup of tea before the formation starts. The 5th elder murmured to himself, his eyes full of disbelief. It's not that he doesn't trust his disciples, but the news is too ridiculous. The blood mist formation is the unique formation method of their evil blood section. Once the formation is activated, it can killing people invisible. What's more, there were more than 400 evil blood sect disciples fighting. How could they be killed in such a short period of time? Is it possible that the imperial court sent a great master here this time? The more the fifth elder thought about it, the more likely it was, and the more he thought about it, the more frightened he became. Now that Shui Wuxian is dead, the evil blood sect no longer has a strong man at the Grand Master level. If a Grand Master really leads the team, then their evil blood sect will really the family is about to be exterminated. The other four elders also had extremely solemn expressions at this moment, and their hearts were panicked. They felt like there was a big stone pressing on their hearts, making them unable to breathe. The imperial court sent the Grand Master with the intention of catching us all in one fell swoop, so we must leave a way out for ourselves. The great elder suddenly stood up and said. The other four elders looked at the great elder at the same time, and they all understood what the great elder meant. The powerful Grand Master is not something they can match. Even if the five of them come together, they will not be their opponent. Instead of staying, fighting to the death and destroying the whole army is better than letting the golden cicada escape from its shell. At least it can preserve the inheritance of the evil blood sect. Do we really want to abandon the century-old sect of the evil blood sect? The third elder looked at the first elder with a gloomy face and full of unwillingness. This Mountain Gate evil blood sect has been operating for 136 years and is the brainchild of generations of evil blood sect disciples. The sect has collected magical secrets and magic weapons for hundreds of years. All the sharp weapons and gold and silver wealth are here. Now they have to abandon them. Once they abandon the Mountain Gate, it means giving up everything, and they will become homeless stray dogs. For a few people, this is more uncomfortable than death. The great elder is depressed said if the Mountain Gate is abandoned, it can be rebuilt, if wealth is discarded, it can be earned again, but when a person dies, there is nothing. As long as we don't die, the evil blood sect will still exist, and one day we can revive the reputation of the evil blood section. The four elders looked at each other, nodded silently, and agreed with the elder's statement. Okay, evacuate. The great elder looked at the four of them and said, take away everything you can, and burn everything you can't take away. No matter what, it cannot be left to the people of the imperial court. The second elder nodded and said, okay, just as the elder said, I will go to the arsenal and lead someone to transfer the magic secret book. The third elder said I will take people to transfer wealth, at least take away the funds for a comeback. The fourth elder and the fifth elder were about to speak when another disciple's horrified shouts came from outside the main hall. A disciple rushed into the main hall and said in a panic, it's something serious. The maze formation at the foot of the mountain has been broken. The 300 people guarding the maze formation have been destroyed. The whole army of disciples was destroyed, and no one survived. Damn it, it came so fast. The five elders looked at each other and became even more anxious. The imperial army was moving several times faster than they imagined. The elder said gloomily, this can't go on like this. At their speed, they won't even evacuate before we can. Already entered the Mountain Gate. The second elder said someone must go and delay. The elders looked at each other and saw the hesitation in each other's eyes. The imperial army was obviously led by a grand master, which meant that the person who delayed the time would definitely die. Let me go. The great elder took a step forward and said in a sonorous tone. No, absolutely not. The great elder is now the head of the evil blood section. How can he put himself in danger? Several elders spoke at the same time and rejected the great elder's proposal. When Shui Wuxian left, he passed the position of sect leader to the great elder. However, the great elder refused to admit it, thinking that he was old and frail, lacked strength, and was not worthy of taking on important responsibilities. So he still calls himself the great elder. But no matter what, the great elder is currently the strongest person in the evil blood sect. No matter who stays to delay time, it should not be the great elder who stays. Only when he is alive can he lead the evil blood sect to rebuild. Rise. Let me go. The second elder took a step forward and said. I am coming too. The third elder also took a step forward and walked side by side with the second elder. We can go too. The fourth elder and the fifth elder also spoke. At this moment, the 5 elders of the evil blood sect shared the same hatred and were extremely united. People always say that people in the world are treacherous. We can only share wealth, but not adversity. It is also said that husband and wife are like birds in the same forest. They all fly away when disaster strikes. Faced with life and death situations, betrayal of brothers, friends, and even relatives abound. Although the 5 great elders of the evil blood sect are evil heretics, the loyalty shown at this moment is moving. No need, you all stay, I will go alone. The great elder looked at the 4 of them and said, I am the strongest and the one who delayed the longest. If you go, you will just die in vain. But that's it? The 4 elders wanted to persuade again, but were interrupted by the elder. This is the first order I issued after becoming the sect leader, and it is also the last order. Do you want to disobey? Swept by the great elder's cold gaze, the 4 elders were all startled. Then they bowed to the great master and said in unison, I will obey the order of the sect master. They all know that the great elder has his own death wish. This makes them hate the people of the court even more. No need, none of you can leave today, you will all die here. At this moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded from outside the main hall. The voice was fused with the deep essence, like a thunderous explosion, and the reverberations echoed in all directions. When the 5 elders heard this voice, their expressions changed greatly. Such deep inner strength. How could it come so quickly? The 5 elders rushed out of the hall at the same time, and happened to see a giant sword energy of more than 30 meters falling from the sky, and struck heavily on the evil blood sect's gate square. There was a loud bang, and the stone statue of the first founder of the evil blood sect on the square was smashed. Crush. Please give me flowers. Wherever the sword energy passed, the bodies of all the evil blood sect disciples exploded, and their flesh and blood flew everywhere. They were even split into blood mist and disappeared. When the dust dissipated, the evil blood sect's gate square had been completely split open. The sword marks penetrated the square, exuding cold sword intent. The 5 elders looked up at the sky at the same time, and saw a figure slowly falling from the sky, standing on the top of a stone pillar. The man looked to be in his 20s, with a handsome face. Cold as ice, covered with murderous intent, it was Xiao Wuji. Anyway, there was only the last white tiger killing formation left after that. Xiao Wuji had already killed all the disciples guarding the formation, and the white tiger formation could not stop Qin Haishan's army for long. Facts have proved that Xiao Wuji's choice was right. At this moment, Xiao Wuji stood with a sword in his hand, his aura standing still. Anyone who saw it would admire him. What a handsome young man. However, at this moment, Xiao Wuji was surrounded by a cold sword. Angry, cold murderous aura spread out, covering the entire evil blood sect square and the main hall. Thousands of evil blood sect disciples in the square glared at Xiao Wuji, their eyes full of murderous intent. However, the aura of these thousands of people was blocked by Xiao Wuji alone. No one dared to act rashly despite being suppressed by others. These evil blood sect monsters, who usually killed many people, felt endless fear in their hearts at this moment, and they could not even hold their swords firmly. The 5 elders were all targeted by Xiao Wuji's murderous intention, and they felt the hairs all over his body stood up, and a cold air rushed up from his heels to Tianling Gai. Although Xiao Wuji looked young, none of the 5 elders dared to look down on him. Whoever comes, please tell me your name. The great elder of the evil blood sect took a step forward and roared at Xiao Wuji. Xiao Wuji's cold eyes swept across the 5 elders of the evil blood sect, and compared them with the information he knew. After confirming that it was correct, he said coldly, "Well, a dead person has no right to know my name." Arrogant. The 5th elder had the most explosive temper. He immediately flew up and slapped Xiao Wuji with his hand. However, the fifth elder was far away from Xiao Wuji. The slap was taken from a distance. He did not dare to get too close to Xiao Wuji. Blood mist fills the air, ghosts cry, and wolves howl. It is the evil blood sect's secret skill of transforming blood. It's a small trick, don't use it to embarrass yourself. Xiao Wuji also flew up in the air and slashed down with a furious sword. The 30-meter huge sword split open the blood mist in an instant. The intention of the sword was not exhausted, but the murderous intent was endless. After the sword split the blood mist, it struck head-on at the fifth elder. Next, he thought that he could save his life by hiding far away, but he didn't know that this was a fantasy. No matter how far he hid, he couldn't escape Xiao Wuji's deadly mad sword. The sword flashed, the true energy exploded, and the body of the fifth elder suddenly exploded. Come, it turns into blood mist that fills the sky and flies in all directions. Wherever the sword energy passes, the air condenses and turns into frost. This sword is clearly the ice-sealed 3 feet of the 6th art of Aeon. Fifth Elder. Seeing the fifth elder being killed by Xiao Wuji with a single blow, the second elder, third elder, and fourth elder were immediately furious. The 3 of them roared and immediately wanted to swarm up and kill the fifth elder Xiao Wuji in revenge. Wait, don't act rashly. At the critical moment, the great elder stopped the actions of the 3 elders. His eyes were fixed on Xiao Wuji, and he gritted his teeth and said word by word, such a cold sword energy, a sharp sword intention, coupled with your age. This is the 6th art of Aeon. You are Xiao Wuji, a member of Qinhu, Jinyue. Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full-level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at West Lake. Chapter 170. After the latest ranking list was announced to the world, everyone in the world knew about Xiao Wuji's reputation. Everyone in the world also knows about the martial arts used by Xiao Wuji. Xiao Wuji killed countless people in battle, and his sword and sword skills were famous all over the world. The psychic sword, snow-drinking crazy sword, is so cold that it kills people without blood. The 6 Aeon techniques of the Zhaihan sword technique can kill with one strike, whether there is death or life. The sword and sword skills displayed by Xiao Wuji at this moment were exactly the same as those recorded on the ground list. The great elder had an immense hatred for Xiao Wuji. When he saw Xiao Wuji, he immediately recognized him. The other 3 elders were also startled, and retracted their steps in uncontrollable fright. Although the 3 of them also hated Xiao Wuji extremely much and wished they could eat Xiao Wuji's flesh and drink Xiao Wuji's blood. But they know their strength. If they faced Xiao Wuji, they would definitely die. I didn't expect that the Imperial Court would send you here. It seems that the Imperial Court really doesn't intend to leave a way for my evil blood sect to survive. The face of the great elder of the evil blood sect was gloomy, and his voice was old and hoarse, full of sadness. Xiao Wuji glanced at the 4 elders with an expressionless face, and shouted coldly, a group of evil demons, rebellious ministers, and traitors, everyone will be punished. When you were killing people and practicing martial arts and slaughtering innocent people, did you ever think about today? The evil blood sect is suffering from today's calamity. It can only be said that the cycle of heaven and earth will bring unfavorable retribution. The evil 280 committed by God can still be violated, the evil committed by oneself cannot survive. Okay, now that you have finished saying your last words, it's time to hit the road. Xiao Wuji didn't want to talk any more nonsense, so he immediately jumped up and turned into a bolt of lightning and shot towards the 4 elders. Be careful, it's the lightning god walk. Let's all come together, don't hold anything back. The method of transforming blood. The 4 elders roared in unison, and the 4 of them took action at the same time. The true energy surged out wildly and turned into blood mist flying towards Xiao Wuji. The blood mist condensed into countless skulls, making waves of fierce ghost roars. The sea of blood surged and instantly filled an area of tens of feet, as if a sea of blood was hanging in the sky. Gorgeous and vulnerable. In the face of the killing move, Xiao Wuji was fearless and advanced instead of retreating. Shui Yin Kuang Dao sensed the master's murderous intention and let out bursts of sword sounds. He saw the true energy enveloped, the cold air bursting out, and a huge 40-meter sword energy. It took shape instantly and slashed down at the blood mist skeleton. It was the most powerful killing move of Aohan 6 techniques, Cold Blade Bing Xin. Clang. The sword flashed and instantly cut through the blood mist. The blood mist and countless skulls paused in mid-air. After a moment, it was split into two. Xiao Wuji's knife was so fast that the killing move was broken before the four elders could react. The sea of blood was instantly frozen, and then exploded and shattered with a click. Ice fog filled the sky. There was a loud bang, and the main hall of the evil blood sect was also split open by the sword energy. The true energy exploded, the gravel shot out, and four figures shot out from the ruins. They were the four major figures of the evil blood section elders. All the four elders were bleeding from their mouths and noses, their bodies were twisted, and they let out shrill screams. Among them, the three elders and the fourth elders had not yet landed, and their bodies exploded. A sky full of sword energy burst out from their bodies, sweeping across the surrounding area. It tore a group of evil blood sect disciples into blood mist. After the second elder landed, his body surface froze instantly and turned into a piece of ice. With a bang, the ice shattered, and the second elder's body was torn apart and completely turned into pieces. The strongest, the great elder, vomited 7 or 8 mouthfuls of blood and smashed it heavily on the steps in front of the hall, making a human-shaped hole in the bluestone steps. His body was twisted and covered in blood. There was not an inch of intact skin on his body, as if he had been beaten by thousands of people. He was cut into pieces and suffered Lingqi torture. His right arm was also missing, and the white bone spurs pierced the flesh and blood, which was extremely ferocious and terrifying. The only good news is that he survived and was not like the other three elders. No bones left. Great elder. Second elder. Third elder. Damn it, how could this happen? The elders were defeated so easily. Thousands of evil blood sect disciples in the square watched helplessly as the four elders were defeated by Xiao Wuji with one strike. 3 of them died and 1 was seriously injured. They felt as if their eyes were going dark and the sky was about to collapse. No, these elders are all masters at the master level. How could they be defeated so easily? Fake, this is all fake. It's an illusion. We are deceived by the illusion. Despicable bastard, what's the point of using illusions? Have the ability to confront me head on. Some evil blood sect disciples who could not accept the reality thought they were immersed in an illusion and roared at Xiao Wuji. Several Xiantian disciples flew into the sky and killed Xiao Wuji with ferocious expressions, wanting to come up and fight Xiao Wuji desperately. No, want. Quick, walk. The great elder of the evil blood sect was seriously injured and on the verge of death. Seeing the core disciples of the sect rushing towards Xiao Wuji, he wanted to stop him. These innate core disciples are the elites of the evil blood sect and are also the future of the evil blood sect. If they all die, then the evil blood sect will really be finished. It's a pity that when the great elder opened his mouth, he only spat out a large mouthful of blood and couldn't make any sound at all. Clang. A flash of sword light swept across, instantly killing all the dozen innate disciples who rushed up. After killing more than a dozen people with his sword energy, he continued to castrate his power and flew into the crowd, immediately splashing a mist of blood. No. The great elder of the evil blood sect watched Xiao Wuji slaughter the disciples of the evil blood sect with tears in his eyes and his heart was bleeding. It's over. It's over. Xiao Wuji, you must die a good death. The great elder's eyes shed blood and tears, and he looked at Xiao Wuji with extremely vicious eyes, as if he wanted to eat him alive. If eyes could kill, Xiao Wuji would have been riddled with wounds and would have died without a complete body. It's not me who dies, it's you. It seems like you and other evil monsters should have gone to hell long ago. The evil blood sect will be destroyed today, go to hell. Xiao Wuji slashed 20 or 30 people to death with one blow. He targeted the seriously injured elder with murderous intent and slashed down with a furious blow. Jiang. 40 meters of sword energy fell from the sky, facing him. The great elder slashed down hard. The great elder was seriously injured at the moment, with only half life left, and could not dodge the sword at all. So he could only watch the sword chi coming down on him. Boom! The great elder was struck by the sword chi. It was torn into pieces and instantly turned into blood mist, with no bones left. Then the sword energy ran over the main hall of the evil blood sect. Only a loud bang was heard, and the evil blood sect shook the mountains, as if an earth dragon had turned over. The majestic the evil blood sect's main hall collapsed and turned into a pile of ruins. Before this shocking change, the remaining evil blood sect disciples finally woke up. They knew that what they were facing now was a cruel reality, not an illusion. The 5 elders died gone, no one left. The evil blood sect is finished, completely finished. Run. Not only did someone shout in fear, but all the living evil blood sect disciples began to flee in panic. At this moment, they had been frightened by Xiao Wuji and no longer had the courage to resist. But at this moment, Qin Haishan came with the army came to kill. Kill, cleanse the evil blood sect with blood, don't let anyone go. Qin Haishan took the lead, holding a long gun and rushed into the fleeing evil blood sect disciples. He saw the gun sweep across, the true essence exploded, and there were flowers of blood. All the disciples of the evil blood sect within the scope of his spear power were stabbed to death or even torn apart. The formation breaking overlord spear is the most powerful in this kind of group battle and massacre. Soon, Qin Haishan fought a bloody path and came to Xiao Wuji. Qin Haishan cupped his fists at Xiao Wuji and said, Xiao Qinhu, your efficiency is too fast. You killed all the 5 elders by yourself, and you didn't even leave one for the general. Qin Haishan was very excited now. And helpless. What is exciting is that following Xiao Wuji to destroy the evil blood sect today is a great achievement. What's helpless is that Xiao Wuji's movements were too fast. He killed all the masters by himself, leaving him with a group of innate and even inferior little shrimps. Killing such little shrimps gave him no sense of accomplishment. Today's battle was so easy that he didn't have any sense of accomplishment in winning the battle. He felt like he was just paddling to get the credit. Xiao Wuji smiled and said, General Qin, there are thousands of evil blood sect disciples here. It would be a great achievement to eradicate them all. The manpower I brought is not enough, so I have to rely on General Qin. Qin Haishan rolled his eyes in his heart. He felt that Xiao Wuji transferred troops from him for this reason. If there were not so many disciples of the evil blood sect, Xiao Wuji alone could wipe out the evil blood sect. Then, Qin Haishan rejoined the battlefield and started fighting. Shui Hua, Song Liman and many other imperial guards, innate centurions among the soldiers, also joined the battle and led the team to hunt down the evil blood sect disciples. The evil blood sect disciples had been killed by Xiao Wuji. Their courage was broken, and some people were even frightened crazy. Facing the pursuit of the army, they only ran away and did not know how to fight back, so they were killed and defeated. Above the evil blood sect's mountain gate, the shouts of killing were shocking and tragic. Screams came and went, mixed with cries for mercy. People were being killed every moment, and the blood soon stained the gate of the evil blood sect red. Facing the disciples of the evil blood sect begging for mercy, Qin Haishan and his men the soldiers did not show mercy, but swung the butcher knife mercilessly. The evil blood sect participated in the conspiracy and assassinated the emperor, which was a major crime against the 9 clans. Only by killing the sect and annihilating the family can the emperor's anger be eliminated. So in today's battle, there is no need for prisoners. Xiao Wuji flew down on a stone pillar and did not participate in the siege, straight for. It would be too embarrassing for him, a half-step master of the celestial level, to hunt down these innate or even first-rate and second-rate warriors. Only occasionally, Xiao Wuji would take action to kill a few fish that slipped through the net and escaped from the encirclement of the army. The system required that at least 90% of the disciples of the evil blood sect be killed. As time passed, the sun moved from the top of the head to the end. In the west, the sun set in the distant sky, casting a golden afterglow. The fighting continued until dusk, and finally came to an end. At this moment, the screams and begging for mercy had disappeared. As far as the eye could see, the gate of the evil blood sect, there were corpses all over the place. What do you mean by corpses strewn across the field and rivers of blood? What Xiao Wuji saw at the moment was this. More than 3,000 disciples of the evil blood sect were almost killed, and there were only a few disciples who were lucky enough to escape from various remote corners of the evil blood section. There were less than 50 people. Qin Haishan's armor was stained red with blood, and so were all the soldiers he brought. Qin Haishan's men were all veterans who had experienced real bloody battles, and they were accustomed to today's level of fighting. Everyone, their eyes were red and bright, without any discomfort. Although many people were killed today, they didn't think it was anything. After all, on the battlefield of the national war, they had seen more dead people than today. And at this moment, the system's electronic sound sounded in Xiao Wuji's mind.